Chapter 32:16. Su Fong returned to the interior of the formation space and continued to settle into a state of cultivation. It was as if what had just happened and the calamity that the Tensei people were about to bring about had never happened. He had cultivated an immortal Tao heart, and his state of mind had reached the point where it could encompass heaven and earth. Even in the face of death, his Tao heart would not waver. Time flew by. A mere 50 years passed in the blink of an eye, while Su Fong had already spent 50,000 years in the time formation. Outside the East Profound Heaven Pavilion, the gates of the Heaven Pavilion had been previously destroyed by the Tensei people and had now been restored to its original state. Thus, with Dongxian Daozu as the leader, the human Daozu powerhouses all appeared and stood with their hands behind their backs in the square in front of the gates of the Heaven Pavilion. Of the mysterious powerhouse from the Destiny platform, Tian Su Daozu, who had not appeared previously, had also arrived at the Heaven Pavilion and stood side by side with Dongxian Daozu. Thus, some of the Daozu powerhouses had solemn expressions. Some even had despair in their eyes and looked worried. Tian Su suddenly sent a message to Dongxian Daozu via divine thought. Dongxian Daozu, do you know why I didn't come when all of you gathered? Xian Daozu replied in surprise. I thought you were afraid of the Tensei people and didn't dare to force you to come. Could it be that you have other reasons? Tian Su chuckled. I didn't come because I had already predicted that the human race would be safe this time. This time, I didn't come to fight the Tensei people, but to watch the show. Xian Daozu was both shocked and stunned. Watch the show. Tian Su's eyes shone brightly. I want to see how the peerless human race rises by stepping on the corpses of the foreign races. Dongxian Daozu was stunned for a moment, but immediately relaxed. Imperial Edicton Daozu suddenly spoke. Why hasn't Su Fong appeared yet? Hong Tian Daozu snorted. Don't tell me he wants us to face the Tensei people here while he takes the opportunity to escape? Daozu Tian's white brows furrowed as he refuted. Don't make wild guesses. In the Battle of Shixian Mountain, Su Fong originally had a chance to escape alone, but in the end, he charged back into the foreign race army without hesitation to save the cultivators of Shixian. During the Heavenly Battle Conference, he had challenged the experts of the 12 races by himself, and he had never been afraid. This time, how could he escape by himself? Daozu, the Dark Mother, said gloomily, some people like to measure the heart of a gentleman with the yardstick of a villain. It's fine if he's just being careful, but if he does anything despicable, not to mention Su Fong, even I won't let him off. Tian Daozu and Hong Tian Daozu let out a cold snort and did not say anything else. Wait, it took more than 10 days. Wu Shui treasure ship broke through the void in front of them, its aura overflowing and divine, might enveloping the surroundings. Heaven, the experts of the Ian race had arrived. All of the human Daozu became nervous. Even Dongxian Daozu and Tian Su's expressions became incomparably solemn. Whoosh, whoosh. 3 more than 1,000 foreign race cultivators escorted a middle-aged Tensei people wearing a golden crown as they flew out of the treasure ship and into the air above the plaza. The middle-aged man looked down from above, his kingly, domineering aura completely revealed. This person was Zhou Nua's father. That among the 3,000 foreign race cultivators, there were more than 40 Daozu, and the weakest of the others were in the Void Dao realm. Such a force could sweep across the entire human world. Eon divine light of Nua's subjugation wrapped around the human Daozu, and he said majestically, why don't you kneel when you see this prince? Starlight flashed in Dongxian Daozu's eyes as he said, you are the prince of the Tensei people, not the ruler of the human race. Why should I kneel when I see you? Other than an undying existence, who else has the right to make the Daozu kneel? Lowly ant-like races, you still dare to be so arrogant when you're about to die. Kneel. A foreign race expert behind Nua's father shouted at Dongxian Daozu and the other human Daozu domineeringly. It was the three-eyed black demon Peak Daozu. Out in the battle of Western Mystery Mountain, the three-eyed black demon had been seriously injured by Dongxian Daozu and the Dark Mother Daozu. More than 1,000,000 years had passed, but he still hadn't recovered to his peak state. Kneel. More than 30 foreign race Daozu simultaneously released a shocking pressure of intent that pressed down on the plaza like a tide. Boom, boom, wide. On the plaza, other than Dongxian Daozu and the Heaven's Fate stage expert Tian Su, there were a few other powerful beings who were barely able to maintain their figures. The other human Daozu were all trembling. A few of the weaker ones had no choice but to kneel on the ground due to the trembling of their Dao hearts. Nua's father waved his hand. They're just lowly races. There's no need to lower yourself to their level. Where is Su Fong? The shaking Heaven Dao's pressure instantly disappeared. Dongxian Daozu said in a low voice, "When it's time for Su Fong to appear, she will naturally appear." The father of the Nua's expression darkened. "I told you to shackle Su Fong and wait for me in the Heaven Pavilion. Do you really think that I don't dare to destroy the human race in this manner? Or do you think we don't have the strength to destroy the human race?" The Daozu from the Mayfly race sneered. "Your Excellency, why waste your breath on these human ants? Just destroy these human Daozu and kill Su Fong." "Kill Su Fong? Is that you?" Su Fong's calm and cold voice rang out from the void. While his voice was still echoing, his figure broke through the air. "Daozu, Su Fong has ascended to the Daozu realm? This person is truly heaven-defying. He can't be allowed to live." Upon sensing Su Fong's cultivation base, the foreign race cultivators were in an uproar. The way they looked at Su Fong instantly changed. That Daozu from a Mayfly race trembled inwardly. Nua's father frowned and stared at Su Fong. "You're Su Fong?" "That's right, I'm Su Fong." Su Fong nodded. He actually ascended to the Daozu realm. This person will definitely be Nua's greatest enemy. The killing intent in Nua's father's heart intensified. Eon Nua was still a Dao saint. No matter how heaven-defying his talent was, no matter how powerful the Tensei people's resources were, it was impossible for him to catch up to Su Fong within 1,000,000 years. One step behind, one step behind. Eon, if Nua lost to Su Fong in the Luai's original realm, he would definitely die. Even the immortal realm experts of the Tensei people wouldn't be able to save him. Ian Nua's future was related to his father's future glory and wealth. Naturally, he had to eliminate Su Fong for Nua as soon as possible. Eon Nua's father shouted imposingly, "Su Fong of the human race, you disguise yourself as the heavenly blood king Vines in the Reizegu people's ruins of God. Not only did you steal the treasures of my son, Nua Nua, but you also killed the experts and slaves of my race. How can I spare you? Surrender obediently. Otherwise, not only you, but the entire human race will suffer with you." Su Fong's sharp gaze seemed to be able to see through Nua's father's thoughts. "You want to kill me, Su Fong, not because of this, right?" Nua's father shouted. "No matter what the reason is, you won't be able to escape death. How can the dignity of the supreme Tensei people be challenged by an ant-like human cultivator like you?" Fong said, "I don't want to challenge the Tensei people, but I don't want to be killed either. Furthermore, you can't represent the Tensei people. You came to the human world for your own personal gain. You even hid it from Nua Nua, so you don't have to use the Tensei people to scare me." Nua's father didn't expect Su Fong to know so clearly. He couldn't help but be shocked. Su Fong continued, "The competition between me and Nua Nua is fair. Outsiders are not allowed to interfere. If you leave the human world now, I can pretend that nothing happened." Arrogant. There's actually such an arrogant person in the human race who dares to look down on me. Nua's father was enraged by Su Fong's calm demeanor and disdainful tone. "Kill this arrogant person and destroy the human world. Yes, I will obey your orders." The Daozu experts of the Ian race and the 12 races began to stir. They were about to attack Su Fong and the human Daozu. Whoosh! However, Chitian Daozu suddenly flew out of the plaza and knelt before Nua's father. "Your Excellency, it was Su Fong who offended the Tensei people. This has nothing to do with me. Your Excellency, please spare me and the Chitian divine realm." Xian Daozu, mother of the dark Daozu, and the others were surprised. Whoosh! Whoosh! Two more human Daozu flew out of the plaza and knelt before Nua's father. One of them was Hong Tian Daozu, and the other was a wandering cultivator. Dongxian Daozu let out a thunderous roar. "You are all shameless." Daozu snorted. "This seat still has countless years to enjoy. Why should I be implicated by a brat and lose my life for nothing? Humans are all spineless. Not only are they weak, but they're also incompetent." Nua's father laughed heartily as he stroked his beard. The Li Clan Daozu and the other human cultivators who came with Nua's father to the human world felt humiliated and angry. Eon Nua's father looked at Su Fong and shouted domineeringly, "Su Fong, even your human Daozu is kneeling at my feet. How dare you, a newly ascended Daozu, continue to defy my authority?" Chitian Daozu said loudly, "My lord, Su Fong may have just ascended, but he is no ordinary person. A powerful Daozu of the heavenly race is currently in his hands." The divine light of all the non-humankind beings changed instantly. "Chitian Daozu, you deserve to die." Xian Daozu, mother of the dark Daozu, and Tian Su from the Destiny platform roared in unison. Nua's father's smile faded. "Zeus C is in your hands? Who is it that dares to attack a powerful member of the Tensei people?" Of course, he didn't believe that Su Fong had the ability to suppress Zeus C. He guessed that Su Fong had the help of a powerful expert. Su Fong smiled sheepishly. "I will release Zeus C right now, and the Tensei people will withdraw from the human world. How about that?" He didn't want to provoke the Tensei people, so he planned to swallow his anger and resolve this crisis. However, Nua's father was determined to kill him. He snorted disdainfully. "You don't need to release Zeus C. I will kill you and save him." Su Fong raised his eyebrows. "Do you know that if the eternal race kills me, Zhou Nu won't be able to survive?" Eternal asked. Nua's father's heart skipped a beat, then he sneered. How could he believe Su Fong's words? Su Fong said, "Nua swore an oath in that place. If you don't believe me, then I have nothing to say. If you dare to attack me, Nua will be killed by Realm Spirit as soon as he enters that place. If you want Nua to die, then go ahead and try." Nua's father hesitated. Since, based on Nua's behavior after leaving the Luai's original realm, Su Fong's words were most likely true. However, he wasn't willing to give up just like that. At this moment, Daozu of the three-eyed black devil race sneered and said, "My lord, why do we need the Tensei people's experts to kill Su Fong? Leave this person to the 12 races. As long as you can prevent the other human Daozu from attacking, it will be enough." Nua's father was overjoyed and nodded. "Very well." Whoosh whoosh. Daozu of the three-eyed black devil race and the other two powerful foreign races rushed towards Su Fong. "You three aren't qualified to kill me. I will wait for you in the chaos of the realm," Su Fong said. Chapter 32:17. Daozu of the three-eyed black devil race and Daozu of the savage flood dragon race and the mayfly race followed closely behind Su Fong. Since Su Fong was able to capture Zhu Si, he must have other powerful experts by his side. "We cannot let him escape." Zhou Nua's father issued orders with his nascent divinity, then entered the treasure ship and left the East Profound Heaven Pavilion. "Shameless bastards. When this is over, this seat will kill the three of you." Dongxian Daozu roared at Chitian Daozu and the others. Sins committed by the heavens can be forgiven, but sins committed by oneself are the hardest to bear. Tian Su of the Heavens Fate platform snorted. Then after that, all of the human Dao Fathers teleported out and headed straight for the chaos beyond. "You're overestimating yourselves. This seat is not an idiot who will follow you to death." Daozu Tian snorted disdainfully and fled with Hong Tian Daozu and the wandering cultivator. Domain within the chaos. Su Fong stood with his hands clasped behind his back. His expression was calm, as if what he was about to face wasn't a battle of life and death, but an insignificant trial. Pieces a moment later. Daozu of the three-eyed black devil race and the other two experts of the other races charged out. The other experts of the other races also appeared within the chaos. "Su Fong, you're truly shocking. Aside from the divine master of 10 directions, none of the 12 races that entered the human world can do anything to you. However, you're so arrogant that you don't even know what's good for you. You even dare to provoke the Tensei people. Today you must die. The Tao ancestor of the three-eyed black demon clan looked at Su Fong as if he was looking at a dead man. He was very arrogant. Then, Daozu of the Mayfly race and the savage flood dragon race also sneered. Zhou Nua's father shouted from the treasure ship, "Why aren't you attacking?" The three-eyed black devil race's Daozu hurriedly transmitted his divine thought. "My lord, Su Fong possesses the grand mist heavenly treasure, the longevity lamp. He's truly powerful. I can't help but be wary of him. Later on, when I make my move, I ask your excellency to order the Tensei, people's experts, to stop Su Fong from activating the longevity lantern." Father Zhou Nua snorted coldly. A lowly race is indeed a lowly race. To think that they would be frightened to this extent by a human cultivator. Don't worry, I have my own arrangements. I guarantee that Su Fong won't have the chance to activate the longevity lamp. Thank you very much, Your Highness. Now, I have no more worries. Daozu of the three-eyed black devil clan was overjoyed. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Ishian Daozu and a dozen other Daozu experts also appeared. Positive the 12 Daozu experts of the Tensei people and the Daozu of the Li clan arrived to help Su Fong, blocking Dongxian Daozu and the others. Father Zhou Nua said coldly, "The Tensei people don't want to destroy the human race with their own hands. However, if you dare to save Su Fong, don't blame me for being merciless and killing all of you." Daozu of the Li clan had no choice but to give up on the idea. As a result, Su Fong fell into a state of isolation and helplessness. Daozu of the Beixian clan secretly transmitted his voice to Dongxian Daozu. The Tensei people still have a powerful expert who hasn't shown up yet. Even if Su Fong has the longevity lantern, it's still very dangerous for him this time. Daozu of the Xian clan looked at Tian Su. "Lord Tian Su, is there a mistake in your deduction?" Tian Su raised his eyebrows. He wasn't sure either. Dongxian Daozu and the others were deeply worried. If Su Fong was killed, even if the Tensei people's experts didn't intervene, how could the human race resist the 12 races? If you have any last words, say them now. Daozu of the three-eyed black demon clan laughed sinisterly. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The Flood Dragon clan and the Mayfly clan attacked at the same time and pounced on Su Fong. The 12 races who entered the human race's world can all die. Su Fong was dominated by the evil corpse, and his murderous aura instantly filled the sky. Arrogant, you overestimate yourself. Daozu of the Mayfly clan and the Savage Flood Dragon clan sneered disdainfully. Su Fong shouted. He stared at Daozu of the Savage Flood Dragon clan. The shadow of the blood coffin appeared in his eyes, and a ray of bloody light shot out. Shah! That! An evil sealing power that could seal one's life, doubt, palace, soul, and everything else instantly enveloped the expert from the Savage Dragon tribe. It contained the heavenly ways' ultimate truth of life. This was the heavenly ways Dharmakaya that the blood coffin Dharmakaya had mastered. All life would return to the coffin, burying and ending all life. A total of 9 shadows of the blood coffin either enveloped the expert of the Savage Flood Dragon clan or went directly into his body to shackle him. It was as if he was buried in a coffin, and he couldn't use his strength even if he had a body full of strength. Hiss! Hiss! The expert of the Mayfly clan transformed into a giant black ant that was 3,000 feet tall. He opened his giant claws and bit down viciously at Su Fong with a terrifying aura that could devour and tear everything to shreds. Kill! Instead of retreating, Fong advanced and let out an angry roar filled with murderous intent. He punched out. Hiss! A ray of bloody light surged out, and a river of blood flowed. The heavenly ways Dharmakaya and killing intent that could kill all life collided with the attack of the expert of the Mayfly clan. Boom! Boom! Nothing. Whether it was in terms of will or the supreme truths contained within, Su Fang's attack was far superior to that of the Dao ancestor of the Mayfly race. With an unstoppable force, he shattered the Dao ancestor's attack and shattered his body. The powerful killing intent shattered his Dao heart. Under the heavenly ways Dharmakaya that could kill all life, his life, origin, and soul were also obliterated. Tight. Then, Su Fang waved his hand and grabbed. That, the expert of the savage Flood Dragon clan who was shackled by the blood kapha Dharmakaya, was grabbed by Su Fang and sucked into his body. The entire process took only about a dozen breaths of time, during which Su Fang killed one of the two outsider Dao patriarchs and captured the other alive. The newly advanced Daozu is actually so powerful. Is that human too strong? Or is the Daozu of the 12 races too weak? Father Zhou Nua sneered disdainfully. He obviously looked down on the alien races of the 12 races. I've underestimated you. You're qualified for me to personally take action. Daozu of the three-eyed Black Demon clan suddenly opened his third eye and shot out a dark Xianguang. The Xianguang contained a terrifying Dao rhyme that could annihilate everything. Wherever it swept out, space and time were annihilated. This three-eyed Black Demon clan expert had been seriously injured by Dongxian Daozu and Dark Mother Daozu during the battle at the Western Mystery Mountain. His third, I had almost been blinded. He hadn't recovered to his peak state after 1,000,000 years of recovery, but his strength was still shocking. He was far stronger than the savage Flood Dragon clan and Daozu of the Mayfly clan. Su Fang smiled embarrassedly. A thought surged out of his forehead and turned into a black and white Xianguang that collided with the three-eyed Black Demon clan's divine light of annihilation. Swoosh! The heavenly ways Dharmakaya, will, and energy that could annihilate everything clashed with the heavenly ways yin and yang, causing a huge explosion. Mixed the chaotic void continued to shatter. A huge black hole appeared and spread into the surroundings. The endless chaotic void became chaotic. Swoosh! Swoosh! Bang! The collision wasn't over yet. 100,000 thoughts surged out of Su Fang's forehead again and turned into 9 divine suns that erupted with extreme yang power. A profound yang flame that contained the Dharmakaya that could annihilate everything instantly turned into a world of flames that shackled Daozu of the three-eyed Black Demon clan. Annihilation of heaven and earth. Daozu of the three-eyed Black Demon clan was worthy of being a peak expert of the Daozu race. Even though he was trapped in a world of flames, he was still extremely fierce. A black Xianguang erupted from the eye between his brows. In an instant, the world around him turned dark. Swoosh! The Dharmakaya that could annihilate space-time, karma, and everything else annihilated the profound yang flame in the surroundings. The world also began to shatter layer by layer. Who knew that in the next moment, an illusory divine power would descend? Daozu of the three-eyed Black Demon clan felt that he was facing an illusory fate. The heavenly ways Dharmakaya that couldn't be defied had shackled his fate and forced him to submit to fate. This is the divine power of the Destiny platform. How can a newly ascended Daozu master so much Dharmakaya of the heavenly way? Daozu of the three-eyed Black Demon clan exclaimed in shock. Face Daozu of the three-eyed Black Demon clan was powerless against the oppression of fate, even though he was extremely powerful. His will began to crumble, and the monstrous black light of annihilation also began to shrink. Swoosh! 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 Blood vines broke through the air and pierced through Daozu of the three-eyed Black Demon clan's defense, body, and Dao palace, wantonly devouring his life, blood, and energy. The surrounding profound sun divine aura once again surged violently, enveloping him and burning him up. Swoosh! This peak expert of the Daozu race died, just like that. Bastard! In the chaos void, thousands of cultivators of the alien race and the human race fell into a deathly silence. Su Fangwen Fangqiu was a Dao saint. He had killed the ancestor of war. Many cultivators of the alien race and the human race had witnessed it. No, at that time, Su Fang still had a hard time killing the ancestor of war. He had used all his skills, and the ancestor of war was not a peak expert of the Daozu. At this time, Su Fong had killed a peak expert of the Daozu race so easily. He had killed the Daozu like killing a chicken. How could the crowd not be shocked by such strength? Who would have thought? Who would have thought that my disciple's current strength would actually surpass mine? Dao ancestor Dongxian felt a sense of relief and a faint sense of disappointment amidst his shock. Dark, the heart of Dao ancestor mother, was also in a state of shock. Su Fong isn't executing a divine ability that he created himself. Instead, he is using the supreme heavenly Dao and his willpower to execute the simplest attack. If he were to create an absolute divine ability, how shocking would his strength be? The heavenly fate stage expert looked at Su Fong. His eyes shone brightly. My deduction was right. The human race has hope. What are you waiting for? Attack together and kill him. Father of Zhou Nuo shouted at the Daozu of the 12 races. However, the Daozu of the 12 races began to hesitate. What a joke. Su Fong had defeated 3 Daozu in a row. He could even kill the peak Daozu of the 3-eyed black demon race. Who would dare to go up and die? The Daozu of the 12 races did not dare to attack. However, Su Fong did not hesitate to attack. 100,000 thoughts surged out and entered the chaos void. They turned into a vast array. With the heaven and earth as the array, it enveloped more than 20 Daozu of the 12 races. Then, a mysterious purple light flashed out from his glabella. He released his thoughts and released a burst of heavenly ways divine power. No, it was not an ordinary heavenly ways divine power. It was a kind of supreme fortune that contained the supreme heavenly ways divine power. It crazily devoured the divine power of the Daozu. Tight. Chapter 32:18. Right now, the spider was not tall enough to pose a threat to the Daozu experts. Su Fong took this opportunity to devour the Daozu's providence, allowing the spider to grow rapidly. Die, all of you! Then, the evil corpse dominator teleported out with monstrous killing intent and charged into the vast formation created by the essence soul Dharma body. Su Fong's powerful strength after ascending to the Daozu realm was on full display at this moment. Chi, chi, chi. Blood vines danced in the air, piercing through the bodies of the 3 struggling Daozu and devouring their life force and energy. Boom, boom, boom. Su Fong, who was controlled by the evil corpse lord, was like an evil god of death. The Blood Fiend avatar and the Heavenly Coffin avatar unleashed their evil and murderous divine might, killing 2 more Daozu in succession. Wherever they went, they were unstoppable. Left. The Daozu below was scared out of its wits. It used all of its abilities, even burning its thoughts and life force, to kill its way out of the array's shackles. Whoosh! Su Fong flew out of the array and looked at the frightened Daozu of the 12 races with a domineering and evil smile. Short. In a temporary confrontation, 5 Dao ancestors were killed and 3 were captured alive. Killing the Daozu was like killing chickens. Su Fong was actually this powerful. There were people who were all shocked, crying out in alarm. The human Daozu were all in disbelief. They did not expect Su Fong to be this powerful. There were still a dozen or so Daozu of the 12 races left, but all of them were trembling. Go! This Daozu was the first to escape. The experts of the other 12 races also fled. After this battle, the top experts of the 12 races had suffered unprecedented injuries. Coupled with Su Fong's heaven-defying rise, it would be difficult for the 12 races to gain a foothold in the human world, unless the divine Lord of 10 Directions broke out of the seal. To think that the human race actually has such a powerhouse. More than 20 Daozu from the 12 races were either killed or captured by Su Fong. Who can stop such a peerless master? No matter how confident the experts from the Tensei people were, they couldn't help but be in awe of Su Fong's strength. This person is actually so strong that even Zhou Nuo is far inferior to him. Only now did Zhou Nuo's father realize that Su Fong's ability to capture Zeus C wasn't due to the help of a powerful expert, but Su Fong's own strength. Su Fong looked at the treasure ship. His gaze penetrated through the barrier and landed on Zhou Nua's father. He said indifferently, "My lord Jun Wang, do you still want to kill me, Su Fong? I don't want to form a life-and-death grudge with the Tensei people. I'll say it again. If you take the Tensei people and leave the human world now, I can let bygones be bygones. I can even let you take Zhu Si away. Either you die or Zhou Nua dies. How can I let you go?" Zhou Nua's father felt a huge threat and wanted to kill Su Fong. As a father, he didn't really care about Zhou Nua's life or death. He had many sons, so it didn't matter if he had one more or one less. However, he had relied on Zhou Nua to obtain his current status. This was related to his future glory and wealth. Zhou Nua was the foundation of everything. How could he let Su Fong go? Zhou Nua's father then shouted with murderous intent, "Even if Zhou Nua made an oath, it has nothing to do with me. Moreover, he didn't know that I came to the human world. Even if I kill you, it won't be a violation of the oath. Lord Zhou Huan, kill this human cultivator. How can I dare to disobey the Juan Wang's decree? Moreover, it's my honor to kill a future immortal existence." A faintly discernible voice rang out from the void, as if it had come from the ancient times countless years ago. The power of time gushed out from nothingness, like a vast and surging river of history. 1. A figure stepped on the river of time, as if he had just walked out from the dusty past. Step by step, he appeared in front of everyone. It was a young Tensei people in his early 20s. His appearance was very ordinary, but his aura was incomparably powerful. Like Daozu from the three-eyed black demon race, he was also a peak-level expert of Daozu. However, compared to Daozu from the three-eyed black demon race, this Tensei people expert named Zhou Huan was 10 times more powerful. Beixin Daozu hurriedly warned Su Fong, "Be careful. This Tensei people expert is the peerless expert who almost killed me." Dongxin Daozu's and Tian Su's expressions changed instantly. Beixin Daozu himself was also a powerful Daozu. Moreover, he was proficient in formations. When facing a peak-level expert of Daozu, even if he couldn't defeat him, he could use formations to escape. However, he encountered Zhou Huan when the northern profound divine realm was invaded. He had no choice but to explode one of his avatars and burn himself to escape. However, Zhou Huan didn't even use his true strength. Thus, this expert was far more powerful than the peak-level experts of Daozu from the 12 races. He was invincible below the immortal realm. Zhou Huan stood still in the primal chaos. The river of time circled around him. Time was disordered, making him look extremely unreal. That was because he didn't exist at this moment. He existed in the future. He existed in the future. No matter how powerful an attack was, how could it hurt him? Su Fong's heart skipped a beat. His expression turned serious. Zhou Huan looked at Su Fong and smiled. His domineering aura was unmistakable. It is truly unbelievable that a powerful person like you can appear in the human race. However, a low-level race will always be a low-level race. Even if 1 or 2 peak-level experts are born, it is just a flash in the pan. It is impossible for them to shine as brightly as they should. You should feel honored to die in my hands, Su Fong said. Fong's eyes were calm. He said indifferently, "You are indeed very powerful. However, it is wishful thinking to think that you can kill me, Su Fong." Huan smiled disdainfully. "You should be relying on the grand mist heavenly treasure, the longevity lamp. However, this king and you are not in the same time. No matter how powerful the longevity lamp is, how can it threaten this king? Although the longevity lamp is known as the longevity lamp, when I capture you, I naturally have the means to erase your soul and kill you completely. The longevity lamp can't hurt you? Why don't you give it a try?" Su Fong's glabella split open. A bronze oil lamp flashed out and floated in front of him. It emitted an astonishing eternal aura and soul power. It was the longevity lamp that Su Fong had cultivated into a Dharma body. Zhou Huan stood still. His eyes were full of mockery and disdain. "Who's Su Fong? The light from Fang's eyes enveloped Zhou Huan. It turned into a black and white Xianguang. It enveloped the whirlpool of time where Zhou Huan was. Black the white Xianguang suddenly rotated. A supreme will and truth that could reverse the past, control the future, reverse heaven and earth, and grasp the fate of the heavens erupted. Zhou Huan's whirlpool of time began to shatter. An invisible power of the heavenly Tao wanted to grab him from the future to the present. Who whirling destiny technique? Su Fang. It was difficult for Fang to create a new divine ability from the heavenly Tao he had comprehended in a short time. However, he could use a supreme divine ability that he had created when he was still in a low-level universe. Its power was unparalleled. It was the whirling destiny technique. Now that he had become a Daozu and grasped the supreme heavenly Tao, the whirling destiny technique's power was 100 times, no, 1,000 times stronger than before. What kind of heavenly Tao is this? Zhou Huan was confident in his strength and didn't take Su Fang seriously. Now that he sensed the power of the whirling destiny technique, his expression changed instantly. Although Su Fang's cultivation was far inferior to his, the whirling destiny technique that Su Fang grasped and controlled the past and future was superior to the truth of time. In addition, Zhou Huan underestimated Su Fang. Caught off guard, the whirling destiny technique's power eroded the whirlpool of time around Zhou Huan. Zhou Huan was also pulled from the future to the present by the whirling destiny technique's power. At this moment, Su Fang activated the longevity lamp. Tung! The longevity lamp suddenly ignited with a soul flame that was 10 feet tall. Then it burned wildly. An ethereal divine aura burst out and covered the entire sky. Fang Jingji had become a Daozu and cultivated the longevity lamp as his divine source. Although he still couldn't activate the longevity lamp's full power, it was 1,000 times stronger than before. Not only did the longevity lamp's power and the area it covered increase, but Su Fang could also control the longevity lamp's power at will. It was no longer like before, when a longevity lamp couldn't distinguish between friend and foe. Under the longevity lamp's power, the alien powerhouse Zhou Huan and the Tensei people on the treasure ship's origin souls began to tremble violently and were on the verge of bursting out of their bodies. Su Fang, if you offend the Tensei people, you and the human race won't be able to escape annihilation. Zhou Huan's origin soul was shackled by the longevity lamp's power. Although he was temporarily resisting, he didn't have the time to use his divine ability to deal with Su Fang. In his shock and anger, he threatened Su Fang. Su Fang said indifferently, "You mean to say that the Tensei people want to kill me, and I can only obediently wait for you to kill me without being able to resist? If I don't resist, I'll die. If I resist, I'll die. Then I might as well kill all of you. At least someone will die with me. You don't have the right to kill me." Zhou Huan roared angrily. He tore apart a part of his soul, burned it, and erupted with soul power to shatter the longevity lamp's soul shackles. Then he fled into the void. A moment later, Zhou Huan's figure appeared 1,000 miles away. The power of time circled around him, and time was constantly changing. It was difficult to capture his existence, and the longevity lamp's supreme, divine might couldn't threaten him. Su Fang wasn't surprised or regretful. He said indifferently, "Go back and tell the higher-ups of the Tensei people that Zhou Nua's father and these Tensei people's cultivators have been temporarily detained by me. From now on, if any Tensei people step into the human world, I will kill them all. You've offended the dignity of the Tensei people. Just wait for the supreme punishment of my race." Zhou Huan's voice drifted over. Su Fang smiled embarrassedly. It seems that the lives of Zhou Nua's father and so many Tensei people's cultivators can't threaten the Tensei people. Then tell the higher-ups of the Tensei people that if the Tensei people dare to attack me and the human race, Zhou Nua will be obliterated by the Leizhe original realm. You Tensei people will never be able to obtain the Leizhe original realm. Zhou Huan snorted coldly. With his soul severely injured, He didn't dare to stay any longer. He was swept away by the river of time and disappeared without a trace. Chapter 32:19. Under the power of the longevity lamp, Zhou Nua's father, the Tensei people, and the human slaves all felt their souls tremble. Their souls were about to leave their bodies. This was the result of Su Fong deliberately controlling the power of the longevity lamp. If otherwise, these Tensei people, including Zhou Nua's father, would have had their souls devoured by the longevity lamp. At this moment, their souls would have been turned into lamp oil. Su Fong then, he activated the longevity lamp and condensed soul seal seeds that used the longevity lamp as the source, shackling all the heavenly Aeon race cultivators on the ship. Su Fong, do you know who I am? Do you know the consequences of your actions? Zhou Nua's father asked coldly. Su Fong smiled embarrassedly. No matter who you are, you only have one identity right now, and that is a prisoner. Everything about you is under my control. As for the Tensei people's revenge, at least before the Tensei people kill me, I will kill you. Zhou Nua's father shouted domineeringly. The strength of the Tensei people is not something a human ant like you can imagine. The Tensei people have as many experts as the clouds. Just the undying existences alone are as many as 9. The Daozu has thousands of experts. I am the county king of the Tensei people. I can mobilize 50 Daozu experts. Killing you and the human race will be as easy as killing a group of ants. Zhou Nua's father's words caused the eyes of Dongxin Daozu and the others to change instantly. Strong. Too strong. Too strong. No. As expected of the higher races of the primal chaos, they actually had 9 undying experts. On the other hand, the human race had never had a single undying expert. This was the difference between them. Zhou Nua's father, the county king of the Tensei people, could mobilize 50 Daozu experts. It was enough to wipe out the entire human race. With such tyrannical strength, how could the human race's Daozu not be shocked and frightened? Look, seeing the expression on the human race's Daozu's face, Father Zhou Nua was extremely pleased. He said proudly, Su Fong, quickly release this seat. This seat can guarantee that I won't make things difficult for you in the future. Otherwise, the consequences are not something you can bear. Su Fong smiled casually. Zhou Nua's talent is extraordinary, and he is valued by the Tensei people's immortal realm experts. They have put in a lot of effort to cultivate him. You, on the other hand, are just a useless Tensei, people who only know how to enjoy life. Now that you've fallen into my hands, how dare you be so arrogant? After capturing Zhu Si, he had searched his soul and stripped his memories. Naturally, it wasn't difficult for him to learn about the Tensei people, so why would he care about Father Zhou Nua? Yes, Su Fong didn't take Father Zhou Nua's threat to heart. With a wave of his hand, he sucked Father Zhou Nua and the other Tensei people into the Dao Palace, including the Li clan's Daozu. After doing all this, Su Fong staggered. The after effects of using the mediating destiny technique and the longevity lamp began to erupt in his body. His life force and fortune began to flow away rapidly, and his origin soul began to feel waves of burning pain. Su Fong, Daozu Xian, and the other human Daozu, turned pale with fright. The human race was currently relying on Su Fong's support. If something happened to Su Fong, the entire human race would be destroyed. How could they not be worried? It's fine. Su Fong smiled sheepishly. However, then, he activated the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine and began to wantonly devour the life force and energy of a suppressed Daozu from the savage Flood Dragon clan. His purple fate body also merged with his physical body to replenish his lost fortune. Only then did the human Daozu relax. Heavens! The eyes of Tian Su, the Daozu, shone brightly. He asked, Su Fong, you mentioned the Luai's origin realm just now. Could it be? Su Fong slowly explained the trial of the Luai's origin realm to the human Daozu. Apart from Dongxin Daozu, the other human Daozu were all energized. The Daozu would break through the seal sooner or later, and the human race would still be doomed. No matter how heaven-defying Su Fong was, he couldn't kill the Daozu. Now, with the Leisha original realm, the human race would have hope. East, Xian Daozu asked, Su Fong, you captured so many Tensei people cultivators, including a prince. How could the Tensei people give up so easily? You wouldn't be so impulsive. You must have a plan in place, right? The Tensei people also want the Luai's origin realm. If Zhou Nuo breaks his oath and enters the Luai's origin realm, he will be killed by the realm spirit. Therefore, before Zhou Nuo obtains the Luai's origin realm or fails the trial and is killed, the Tensei people will not take revenge on the human race. I will definitely surpass Zhou Nuo and become the master of the Luai's origin realm. Before the Tensei people take revenge on the human race, I will move the human race to the Luai's origin realm. When that time comes, no matter how strong the Tensei people are, they won't be able to threaten the human race. Also, the Daozu won't be a problem. The Luai's origin realm is a sacred place created by the Reizeigu people in the heavenly Tao of nothingness. The human race will thrive in the Luai's origin realm and one day rise to power. When that time comes, who will dare to bully the human race when we return to the chaos space? Su Fong explained his thoughts. The future of the human race depends on Su Fong. Most of the human Daozu immediately became spirited. Their previous worries and despair were all gone. No, but there were some who didn't feel at ease. 1. The basis of this was that Su Fong could pass the test of the Luai's origin realm and become the master of the Luai's origin realm. Otherwise, not only would Su Fong be obliterated, but the human race would also be destroyed. The test of the Luai's origin realm was extremely difficult. No one was confident that Su Fong could pass it. The Dongxian Daozu asked, the 12 races have suffered great losses. The overall strength of the Daozu experts is now weaker than the human race. How will we deal with the 12 races occupying Shixian, Beixian, and Nanxian? Many human Daozu also looked at Su Fong. In this battle, Su Fong not only deterred the alien races, but also completely subdued the human Daozu. Now, Su Fong had become the leader of the human race. Even the Daozu experts regarded him as their leader. Su Fong thought for a moment and said decisively, drive the 12 races out of Shixian and Beixian. As for Nanxian divine region, we can ignore it for now. The Dongxian Daozu asked in astonishment why. Su Fong said, the 12 races also have immortal experts. The ones invading the human world this time are only a small part of the 12 races. If we kill them all, we will definitely attract immortal experts. The human Daozu nodded. No, he wouldn't easily show himself. If he killed all the 12 races that invaded the human world and attracted other race undyings, then the human world would be doomed as well. But they still couldn't kill all the 12 races. Dark the female Daozu said gloomily, there's also Qi Tian Daozu, Hong Tian Daozu, and that rogue cultivator, Goli Daozu. These 3 shameless people can't be spared. The Xian Daozu snorted coldly, his eyes filled with killing intent. Heaven the Life platform expert Tian Su said, the 3 of them have probably returned to their respective lairs by now. It won't be easy to kill them. Fong said, leave those 3 alive for me. The human Daozu understood Su Fong's intention. He wanted to use the 3 human Daozu to establish his authority and prevent such shameless backstabbers from appearing in the future. If the human race wanted to become strong, they had to obey the will of the One and not be scattered. Su Fong wanted to use the 3 human Daozu to make the entire human race submit to his will. Besides Su Fong, who else could lead the human race? Su Fong had the strength. The only thing he lacked was a little ambition. Seniors, I'll go back and recover first. I'll leave the matter of subduing Shixian and Beixian divine region to you. The human Daozu cupped his fists and left in embarrassment. The moment Fong returned to the eastern profound heaven pavilion, Holy Sovereign Xie Zhu sent him a message from the Migres star. Boy Su Fong, you're so strong now. It looks like you don't need my help anymore. Su Fong hadn't asked Holy Sovereign Xie Zhu to join the battle against the foreign race experts, but the latter had been paying attention and witnessed Su Fong's strength. Su Fong replied, "You won't be able to help much this time. When the human race subdues Shi Xian and Bei Xian divine region, you can help. That's fine too. I almost died of boredom in the Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion." Holy Sovereign Xie Zhu agreed without hesitation. He wasn't stupid. Su Fong's future was limitless. Following Su Fong would naturally bring him great benefits. The more he contributed, the more Su Fong valued him. He naturally agreed to Su Fong's request. Su Fong entered Dongxian Daozu's cave and entered the formation. Heaven-piercing Blood King Vine Devour. Su Fong sat down cross-legged and urged the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine to devour the savage flood dragon Daozu's life force and energy to recover his lost lifespan. At the same time, he used the purple Fate Avatar's ability to devour fate and wantonly devoured the fate of the Tensei people. Although, of course, he couldn't kill these eternal race cultivators right now, but Su Fong wouldn't treat them as honored guests. As long as he left them alive, it would be fine. Bao, including Zhou Nua's father, all the foreign race cultivators had their resources plundered by Su Fong. Zhou Nua's father was just a Dao saint, but he was still a duke. His status among the Tensei people wasn't low, so it was only natural that he had a shocking amount of resources. The other Tensei people had more than a dozen Daozu and thousands of other Tensei people's resources as well. It wasn't hard to imagine how shocking it was. None with so many resources gathered together. It was like a vast ocean. It looked extremely terrifying. Su Fong dismissed the idea of asking the precious tree mother for cultivation resources. With so many Tensei people's resources, it was enough for him to squander without restraint. Yes, with so many resources and the powerful blood pig, Su Fong's speed of recovery was naturally astonishing. Same as Su Fong also distributed resources to the cultivators of the Migres planet. Dongxian Daozu, the Dark Mother Daozu, the Destiny Platform Expert Tian Su, and Holy Sovereign Xie Zhu all received a large amount of rare resources that were hard to come by for the human race. Xian Bao, which many human cultivators found difficult to use, was given to the gluttonous heavenly devourer insect. As a result, while Su Fong was recovering, the experts under him were also improving at an astonishing rate. East. Chapter 32:20. The Tensei people were separated from the human world by endless time and space. 1. Inside this independent time and space, there was a dense life-blood energy. In this time and space, there was a huge blood pool. Inside the blood pool, blood water was boiling and life energy was rippling. Here, in the middle of the blood pool, there was a huge sunflower-like flower floating. Here, this flower was a notorious evil life form in the chaos. It was called the Sunwheel Ghostface Flower. It could devour all life forms, including Daozu experts. Here, moreover, the Sunwheel Ghostface Flower had an undying body. Unless an immortal expert attacked, it would be very difficult to kill it. A Tensei people youth was sitting cross-legged in the middle of the Sunwheel Ghostface Flower. The Sunwheel Ghostface Flower was devouring the life-blood energy in the blood pool. Then, the life energy continuously seeped into his body, causing his life energy to increase at an astonishing speed. Here, this person was Zhou Nua. Blood. The blood in the pool kept decreasing. When it was about to reach the bottom, Tensei people cultivators immediately appeared beside the pool. They grabbed thousands of powerful foreign race cultivators, killed them, and threw them into the blood pool. Here, the Tensei people experts helped Zhou Nua seize a Sunwheel Ghostface Flower in order to increase Zhou Nua's life and body as quickly as possible. Then, they used the Sunwheel Ghostface Flower to devour the life-blood energy to continuously increase Zhou Nua's life and body. Zhou Nua sat cross-legged in the flower and used a supreme forbidden technique to devour the life energy wantonly. He looked like he was enjoying it very much. Suddenly, A thought passed through the passage and condensed into the figure of the Tensei people's expert, Zhou Huan. He said to Zhou Nuo, "Young Prince Zhou Nuo, Lord Zhou Huan, what's the matter?" Zhou Nuo raised his eyebrows when his cultivation was interrupted. Then he asked with a smile. No matter how arrogant he was, he still maintained the proper respect in front of a peak Daozu expert. Zhou Huan hesitated. Not long ago, Lord Zhou Huan went to the human world. Why isn't he enjoying himself in the Tensei people? What is he doing in the human world? That's not good. Zhou Nuo first snorted with disdain, and then he suddenly realized something, causing his expression to instantly change. Stupid, stupid old bastard. He'll get me killed. Huan said, "Young Commandery Prince, don't worry." The Commandery Prince went to the human world just as you expected. He prepared to kill Su Fong and eradicate future troubles for you, but he didn't succeed. It's good that Su Fong is still alive. If Su Fong had died at the hands of the Tensei people, then I wouldn't have been able to live either. Zhou Nuo heaved a sigh of relief, following which his brows furrowed. Did that human race, Su Fong, not return to the human world? Otherwise, why didn't I kill him? Huan said seriously, "It's not that Su Fong is not in the human world, but Su Fong has already become a Daozu. His strength is really amazing." Su Fong was promoted to Daozu? Zhou Nuo was very shocked and felt a huge pressure. At the same time, intense jealousy and killing intent surged in his heart. He then snorted. Even if he was promoted to Daozu, it shouldn't be difficult to kill him, right? Huan's projection revealed a bitter smile. The Commandery Prince ordered the 12 Daozu to invade the human world. He wanted to use the 12 clans to kill Su Fong. In the end, 8 of the 12 Daozu were suppressed by Su Fong, and the rest fled in panic. The 12 clans are really useless. My clan's expert, Zhou Si, had already been captured by Su Fong. I personally took action, but I was also severely injured by Su Fong's exceptional divine ability and primordial heavenly treasure. I had to tear my soul to luckily escape. Zhou Huan's words made Zhou Nuo speechless. His face was full of shock and disbelief. Zhou Huan continued. The Commandery Prince and the subordinates he brought to the human world, including more than 10 Daozu, were all shackled by Su Fong with a longevity lamp. Zhou Huan then repeated Su Fong's words to Zhou Nuo without missing a word. I never expected that the human race would have such a powerful person. Zhou Nuo gritted his teeth and said, "Zhou," Huan said, "Young Commandery Prince, what should we do next?" Zhou Nuo closed his eyes and pondered for a long time. In the end, he slowly opened his eyes. His gaze became as calm as an ancient well again. "Forget it. Before I pass the test of the 9 heavens of the Luai's original realm and obtain the Luai's original realm, the Tensei people will not take a step into the human world." Due to the vow he made in the Luai's original realm, Zhou Nuo could only grit his teeth and bear with it for the time being, even if he wanted to kill Su Fong. What should the Commandery Prince and the others do? Stupid, useless, and disgraceful old things. So what if they die in Su Fong's hands? Zhou Nuo snorted coldly and closed his eyes again. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. Su Fong spent 3 million years in the formation and recovered his life, luck, and soul to peak condition. He even improved a little. In the formation, he sent a message to Dongxian Daozu. "Master, I've recovered. What's the situation in the human world?" Xian Daozu quickly replied. The 12 races of the North Profound and West Profound have retreated to the Southern Profound Divine region without fighting. The human race stopped pursuing them after they reclaimed the 2 divine regions. The 12 races are still in the Southern Profound Divine region, and it looks like they're preparing to retreat to the monster race's world at any time. The foreign races retreated without fighting? Su Fong asked. Fong was surprised. However, it was normal. Daozu experts of the 12 races were severely injured, and the overall strength of the human race's top experts surpassed that of the 12 races. They had no choice but to retreat. East Xian Daozu continued to send message. Qi Tian Daozu, Hong Tian Daozu, and that wandering cultivator Guli Daozu have holed up in their respective lairs. When news of you killing the Daozu of the 12 races and suppressing the experts of the Tensei people spread, that wily old fox Hong Tian Daozu sent someone to the Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion to beg for forgiveness. The other two didn't do anything. It looks like I'll have to pay them a visit in person, Su Fong said with an embarrassed smile. Whoosh, whoosh. A jade slip flew through the air. Dongxian Daozu sent another message. This is some information on the three of them. Don't be careless. Although they're despicable, they've been famous Daozu experts for many years. They have deep foundations. Thank you for the warning, Master. Su Fong grabbed the jade slip and scanned the information inside. Then he stepped out of the secret realm and left the Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion. I'll go to the Myriad Poisons Abyss first and find that Gully Daozu. Su Fong decided to start with that wandering cultivator. The Myriad Poisons Abyss was located in the chaos between Hong Tian Divine Realm and Hao Tian Divine Realm. It was a dangerous place. The abyss was filled with poisonous fog and smoke all year round. Countless poisonous insects and monsters lived in it. The wandering cultivator Go Li Daozu cultivated the great Tao of poison. Although his strength was average, he was a powerful figure in the 9 divine realms because he had mastered extremely powerful poisons. Ordinary Daozu didn't dare to provoke him. Su Fong traveled through space and arrived outside the Myriad Poisons Abyss after about 100 years. Ding! He looked over. A huge collapsed area had appeared out of nowhere in the chaos. Black, blue, and red smog surged within it. It looked quite dazzling. However, beneath this dazzling appearance was an incomparably dangerous place. It wasn't smog, but poisonous fog formed by the convergence of deadly poisons. Gue also needs to improve. These deadly poisons can be used as nutrients for Gue's improvement. Su Fong smiled and sent a thought to Gue to merge with his body. Then, he flashed into the Myriad Poisons Abyss. The poisonous fog seemed to have a mind of its own. When it sensed the aura of life, it immediately surged towards Su Fong. The deadly poisons were truly shocking. Not to mention ordinary cultivators. Even Dao saints had to be careful when dealing with them. Just a little bit of them would cause a lot of trouble. No, but to Su Fong, these poisons were nothing at all. With his powerful life force, which was far beyond the limits of the human race, these deadly poisons couldn't corrode him. Not only did he not deliberately put up a defense, he even wantonly absorbed the deadly poisonous fog for Gue to devour. Gue seemed to have eaten a great tonic. It cried out excitedly in Su Fong's body. Just as Su Fong entered the Myriad Poisons Abyss, in the deepest part of the abyss, there was the corpse of a venomous scorpion. The corpse of the venomous scorpion was covered with mysterious natural divine patterns. No one knew how many years it had been dead, but its body still exuded endless savagery and venom. Inside, a black-robed old man sat cross-legged in the space inside the corpse of the venomous scorpion. It was the wandering cultivator Su Fong was looking for Gully Daozu. Gully Daozu's brows were tightly knitted. He looked uneasy. Suddenly, Gully Daozu grabbed a golden rune talisman and transmitted his primordial spirit voice. Hong Tian Daozu. Hong Tian Daozu's voice quickly came from the talisman. Gully, what's the matter? Gully Daozu said. I suddenly feel uneasy. It's as if a tribulation is about to descend. Has Su Fong been to Hong Tian Divine Region or the Imperial Divine Region? No matter how powerful Su Fong is, he wouldn't dare to risk universal condemnation and kill you, a human Daozu. What are you afraid of? That Su Fong even dared to suppress the big shots of the Tensei people. He's unscrupulous in his actions. Why would he have any scruples against you and me? No, I better leave the human world quickly and escape to the depths of the primal chaos. If you escape to the depths of the primal chaos, you'll either be eaten by a foreign race or captured as a cultivation material or a slave. Don't be afraid. If Su Fong comes, say something nice and admit defeat. This matter will be over. You and I will still be the strongest Daozu of the human race. Since things have come to this, This is the only way, Guli Daozu said embarrassedly. Before he could finish, the divine light in his eyes changed. He looked out of the cave in shock. Su Fong. At this moment, outside Guli Daozu's cave, Su Fong stood with his hands behind his back. He looked at the cave with an embarrassed smile. His gaze seemed to be able to see through everything inside the cave. People of Su Fongda, this humble one has sinned. Guli Daozu reacted quickly. He flew out of the cave and knelt down in front of Su Fong. Su Fong frowned slightly and said indifferently, "Since you know that you have sinned, then die." Guli Daozu was so scared that he trembled. He quickly said, "People of Su Fongda, this humble one is a Daozu of the human race after all. Please spare this humble one. This humble one is willing to submit to you and contribute to the human race. It's human nature to be timid and afraid of death. If you ran away when the Tensei people's experts arrived, I, Su Fong, would not blame you and would not pursue the matter. However, you chose to side with the foreign race. This action is tantamount to betraying the human race. Do you still expect me to spare you?" Su Fong's indifferent voice revealed the majesty and ruthlessness of the heavenly Tao. Chapter 32:21. Then, the divine patterns on the giant scorpion's corpse flickered, and a layer of blue luster appeared. Giant, its huge body seemed to have come alive. Its tail was raised high, and the tip of its tail flickered with a sweet poison. First, an incomparably ferocious and terrifying aura that corroded everything spread from the scorpion's corpse. The poisonous smoke inside the myriad poison's abyss seemed to have been summoned, and it surged toward the scorpion. The poisonous smoke billowed, and it was terrifying. "Fight to the death. You are not qualified to fight to the death with me. You will die, but the net will not break." Fong smiled embarrassedly and allowed his body to be enveloped by the poisonous smoke. Whoosh! However, the heavenly mandate Dharma body erupted with a supreme truth that could not be disobeyed, and the pressure from fate suddenly descended. Just the scorpion, who was still arrogant and insufferably arrogant, suddenly trembled and lay on the ground, as if it was resigned to fate. Su Fong waved his hand and grabbed, and Guli Daozu flew out of the cave. Immediately after, Su Fong's right index finger pointed at Guli Daozu, and a wave of primordial energy that contained the supreme will of the heavenly Tao condensed into a sword chi that shot out from his fingertip. Hoop! Guli Daozu's defense could not withstand a single blow, and his head was pierced by the sword chi, and he died on the spot. A Daozu expert was so easily killed by Su Fong, and he did not even have the chance to use his powerful techniques. This was the power of Su Fong cultivating the Jiuxuan, limitless scripture, and mastering the supreme heavenly Tao. In terms of the heavenly Tao, he was above the other Daozu, and he also had primordial energy. Even if he had just become a Daozu, killing a Daozu was as easy as killing a chicken. Then, Guli Daozu's corpse was absorbed into his body space, and he did not let go of the scorpion's corpse. The corpse could be used for Gui's cultivation, and the scorpion's corpse could be used as a cave for Gui. Then, Su Fong projected his senses and found the hiding places of some powerful poisonous insects and monsters in the myriad poison's abyss. He killed them one by one and threw them into the internal space of the scorpion's corpse. For example, with this, Gui also had a large amount of cultivation resources, and the speed of her improvement was naturally astonishing. The next one should be Hong Tian Daozu. After Su Fong finished off Guli Daozu, he calmly left the myriad poisons decimating abyss and headed straight for the great heaven divine realm. No less than 10 years. Su Fong arrived at the space-time of the Hong Tian divine realm. Outside the barrier, he could sense the entire great heaven divine realm. Once Su Fong revealed a look of surprise when he sensed his surroundings. Soon after, he smiled faintly and teleported to Hong Tian Blessed Land, the place where Hong Tian Divine Realm's power was concentrated. Hong Tian Blessed Land. Hong Daozu Tian sat cross-legged in the air as his majestic voice spread throughout the entire Hong Heaven Blessed Land and Hong Heaven Divine Realm. No, countless cultivators from Hong Tian blessed land listened to him respectfully. That was not all. Hong the blessed heavenly lands even asked the merchant guild to use the Big Dipper Heaven Eye to spread the news of what had happened in Hong Tian divine realm to the entire human world. Such a scene was extremely rare in the human world, but it was not unheard of. Within the past, there had been Tao ancestor powerhouses who had personally appeared to teach and spread the Tao throughout the human world with the help of the Jiushuan heaven law. All the human cultivators in the Jiushuan realm listened attentively. No Hong Tian Daozu Tian divine realm wasn't imparting knowledge. In fact, it had nothing to do with imparting knowledge. When the Western Profound Mountain was besieged by the foreign races' armies, Western Profound Mountain was on the brink of destruction. Who was it that stepped forward and risked his life to save Western Profound Mountain, repel the foreign races, and win a chance for the human race? When the foreign races held the Heavenly Scramble Conference, our human cultivators suffered defeat after defeat. We were humiliated and massacred by the foreign races. Who was it that stepped forward and challenged the entire foreign race, killed the foreign race's Daozu Tian divine realm, saved countless human cultivators from the foreign races, and forced the foreign races to sign the treaty? Who was it that killed the foreign race's Daozu Tian divine realm and drove them out of the northern profound and western profound divine realms? Hong Tian Daozu Tian's face was flushed red, and his eyes were filled with excitement, reverence, and worship. At this moment, he didn't seem like a Daozu Tian divine realm. Instead, he seemed like a peddler in the mortal world who was loudly bragging about the awesomeness of his wares. If any other cultivator did this, they would have been scolded and ridiculed. However, the person who said this was a supreme being of the Hong Tian divine realm, one of the 9 divine realms of the human race. Moreover, the person he was talking about was famous throughout Jiushuan. He was the subject of the entire human race's gratitude and reverence. Who would dare mock or curse Hong Tian Daozu Tian divine realm? Not only did no one curse, but the opposite was true. The cultivators who saw this scene through the Big Dipper Heaven, I felt their blood boil as they chanted the same person's name in unison. Su Fong, Su Fong, Su Fong, Hong. Hong Tian Daozu Tian divine realm stretched out his hands and pressed them in the air. The heaven-shaking cheers came to an abrupt halt. During the heavenly selection ceremony in Jiushuan, my most favored disciple, Long Tianxi, actually tried to kill Su Fong due to his greed. In the end, he suffered a great loss at Su Fong's hands. I was also muddle-headed for a moment. I stood up for my disciple and almost killed Su Fong. Now that I think about it, I still feel waves of lingering fear. If I had been impulsive back then, Hong Tian Daozu Tian divine realm's face was filled with guilt and remorse. Then, he waved his hand and grabbed. A figure broke through the air and knelt down. It was Long Tianxi, who had once clashed with Su Fong. After Su Fong devoured his violet fate heavenly dragon, he lost the halo of a genius and supreme fortune. Right now, his cultivation was barely at the lower Tao profound realm. He looked like he couldn't recover from the setback and had completely lost his former vigor. Master, this disciple knows his mistake. Please spare my life. Long Tianxi clearly understood Hong Tian Daozu's intentions. He trembled as he begged Hong Tian Daozu Tian, divine realm, for mercy. You evil disciple, you almost killed the leader of the human race and plunged the entire human race into a state of eternal damnation. You almost caused me to make a grave mistake and commit injustice. How can I spare you, evil disciple? Hong Tian Daozu Tian divine realm let out a cold shout. The sound waves rolled and crashed into Long Tianxi, turning him into a bloody mist that drifted into the air. The entire Hong Tian divine realm and the human world fell silent in an instant. Hong Tian Daozu Tian divine realm continued slowly. I am also deeply ashamed. Therefore, I have decided to reflect on my mistakes for thousands of years. If Su Fongda is willing, I am willing to join Su Fong and serve him at all times. The moment he said that, the entire Hong Tian divine realm was in an uproar. The human cultivators of the other divine realms were also shocked. Suddenly, a calm voice rang out. Hong Tian Daozu Tian Divine Realm. Are you done with your act? Then, a figure emerged from the void and stood opposite Hong Tian Daozu Tian Divine Realm with his hands behind his back. Su Fong. That is the Su Fongda Tian Divine Realm who saved the human race. Greetings, Su Fongda Tian Divine Realm. All the cultivators of Hong Tian Blessed Land were incomparably excited. They all knelt and bowed to Su Fong. Hong Tian Divine Realm Hong Tian Daozu Tian Divine Realm also knelt and bowed to Su Fong in a humble manner. This one knows that the people of Su Fongda Tian Divine Realm are guilty and unforgivable. This one is willing to accept my lord's death or punishment without complaint. Hong Tian Daozu Tian Divine Realm said sincerely. What does Hong Tian Daozu Tian Divine Realm mean by this? What's more, Hong Tian Daozu Tian Divine Realm didn't do anything wrong when he acted for his disciples' sake. Why did he muster so many people to apologize to Su Fong? What kind of people are the people of Su Fongda Tian Divine Realm? Why would they take such a trivial matter to heart? There were many cultivators and forces who offended Su Fongda Tian Divine Realm in the past. For example, the Eastern Profound Heavenly Pavilion's exalted Venerable Spring Autumn and the three supreme profound sects' great Elder Zhang Sun. Su Fong never took revenge on them. Why would he take revenge on Hong Tian Daozu Tian Divine Realm for what happened in the past? Everyone was surprised. They couldn't understand Hong Tian Daozu Tian Divine Realm's intention. Su Fong heard the discussions of the cultivators of Hong Tian Blessed Land clearly. Traces of coldness appeared in his deep eyes. Hong Tian Daozu Tian Divine Realm's intention couldn't be more simple. He had humbled himself in front of everyone, avoided the important matters, and didn't mention a single word about his betrayal of the human race. It was all because he wanted to save his own life. If Su Fong killed him in front of all the human cultivators, he would be labeled as narrow-minded and vengeful. It wouldn't be that easy for him to lead the human race. For Hong Tian Daozu Tian Divine Realm Sake, and he had done it in such a sinister and despicable way. Hong Tian Daozu Tian Divine Realm secretly transmitted his voice to Su Fong. The people of Su Fongda Tian Divine Realm faced the foreign experts outside the Eastern Profound Heavenly Pavilion. This one had no choice but to bow to them in order to survive. However, this one had no intention of targeting you, my lord. Is that so? My lord, please give this one another chance. As long as you forgive this one time, this one is willing to do what I said just now and serve you wholeheartedly. Not only this one, but the entire Hong Tian Divine Realm will belong to you, my lord. Su Fong smiled embarrassedly. What if I refuse? Hong Tian Daozu Tian Divine Realm said. The people of Su Fongda Tian Divine Realm want to kill me because they want to show their might to the human race. They want to control the entire human race and become the supreme ruler of the human race. If you kill me in front of everyone now, everyone will fear you and stay away from you. They won't submit to you. My lord should know what's more important and what's more important. Naturally, you'll make the wisest choice. I, Su Fong, only serve the human race. I don't want to become the supreme ruler of the human race for power like you think. The so-called glory, splendor, wealth, power, and status are nothing in the eyes of Su Fong. You still don't know, right? Once I take control of the Thunder Lake original realm, I'll bring the human race there. I won't need anyone to support me. I'll still be the supreme ruler of the human race. There's also another reason why I have no choice but to kill you. I, Su Fong, have never liked to bend to the will of others. I won't let any threats affect my will. My heart is like the heavens. How can I be affected by external things? You try to use your reputation to kidnap me, Su Fong, to control my will and affect my Tao heart. Therefore, you must die. Su Fong's cold voice sounded like he was announcing Hong Tian Daozu's death sentence. Chi, chi, chi. Dozens of blood vines shot out of Su Fong's body and firmly shackled Hong Tian Daozu. The blood vines seeped into his Tao palace and body and started to devour them. All the cultivators who witnessed this scene were shocked and surprised. They looked at Su Fong with their mouths agape. They couldn't understand why Su Fong wanted to kill Hong Tian Daozu. Chapter 32:22. Su Fong, I die with a clear conscience at your hands. My only regret is that I can't die at the hands of the foreign races. I hope you will treat the cultivators of Hong Tian Divine Realm well in the future. Hong Tian Daozu smiled and said resolutely. This man was so despicable. He knew he couldn't escape death, but he still put on such a brave front. Even in death, he still wanted to slander Su Fong. Hong Tian, all the cultivators in Hong Tian Divine Realm fell silent. Yes, some were confused, some were angry, and some were helpless, but no one dared to say anything. In the various profound worlds, countless human cultivators saw this scene through the Big Dipper heaven's eye and fell silent. At this moment, Su Fong's tall and mighty image began to waver in the hearts of many cultivators. Sizzle, Hong Tian Daozu turned into a dried corpse in the span of 20 breaths. Su Fong shook the blood vine and absorbed it into his body. Hong Tian Daozu's corpse shattered and turned into ashes. Then after that, Su Fong stepped into the void and disappeared from everyone's line of sight. Su Fong, with his current strength, he could kill whoever he wanted. He only wanted to have a clear conscience. He didn't need to explain anything to others, and no one dared to ask him for an explanation. I didn't expect Su Fong to be such a cold-blooded person. Even if he's made a great contribution to saving the human clan, how can he kill a Tao ancestor expert so unscrupulously? Hong Tian Blessed Land, where Su Fong had disappeared, was silent for a long time. Su Fong's killing of Hong Tian Daozu in public cast a shadow over the human race's recent victory. After that, many Daozu experts came forward and revealed that Hong Tian Daozu, Qitian Daozu, and Daozu Golia betrayed the human race at the critical moment when the foreign race experts were attacking. Only then did the wind calm down, but there were still many cultivators who didn't believe it. Hong Tian Divine Realm. 1. A huge palace floated in the void. It was the place where the power of Hong Tian Divine Realm gathered. Hong Tian Divine Palace. Black Hong Tian Divine Palace wasn't as majestic as East Profound Heavenly Pavilion, but it exuded a brilliant heavenly might. Inside the palace, deep within the vast formation space, there was an ocean. It wasn't ordinary water, but a convergence of the Tao source drawn by the formation. Run. An island floated in the middle of the ocean. Hong Tian Daozu sat cross-legged on a huge rock. A screen of light in front of him was constantly changing the scene of Su Fong killing Hong Tian Daozu. What a vicious and merciless Su Fong. Tao ancestor Hong Tian was so compromising, yet Su Fong actually disregarded his reputation and killed him in front of everyone. It was enough to show that his Tao heart was firm and unshaken by external factors. Hong Tian Daozu Li was too smart for his own good. Serves him right for losing his life. I won't be like Hong Tian Daozu. No matter how strong Su Fong is, he won't be able to break through Hong Tian Divine Palace. I just need to hold on for a while, and the Tensei people will definitely invade the human world. When that happens, Su Fong will die. Qitian Daozu stared at Su Fong's figure in the screen of light and sneered disdainfully. Then he sent a message to the upper echelons of Hong Tian Divine Realm and issued a series of orders. Big. About 100 years. Su Fong appeared outside Hong Tian Divine Palace and was blocked by a golden screen of light. Su Fong sensed the powerful barrier and raised his eyebrows. He stood with his hands behind his back and said in a majestic voice, "Come out, Qitian Daozu." His voice spread throughout Hong Tian Divine Palace. Countless cultivators were shocked and frightened. Heavy. A moment of silence. Qitian Daozu Tian's angry voice rang out. Su Fong, you rely on your strength to kill the experts of the human race. I admit that I'm not as strong as you, but I won't let you kill me. If you have the ability, break through Hong Tian Divine Palace. Swoosh swoosh. More than 10,000 cultivators from Hong Tian Divine Realm charged out of the golden screen of light. However, Their cultivation wasn't very high. The highest was only an upper Dao profound, and the lowest was a Dao lord. Su Fong, Hong Tian Divine Realms cultivators would rather die than submit to a murderous demon like you. You can kill us, but there are tens of thousands of cultivators in Hong Tian Divine Realm. Let's see how you'll kill them all. Some cultivators actually charged towards Su Fong without any regard for their own safety. Qitian Daozu, it seems like I underestimated your shamelessness. You actually used these ordinary cultivators as cannon fodder. Su Fong's eyes were as cold as ice. A powerful will suddenly descended, enveloping the ordinary cultivators of Hong Tian Divine Realm. Then, with a thought, he teleported them away. Daozu Tian's cold laughter rang out. Su Fong, you even dare to kill Daozu. If you're so vicious and merciless, why don't you dare kill these ordinary cultivators? Fong Dankong coldly shouted, I originally planned to directly kill you, but it seems like that is far from enough. Wait until I capture you. I will let you know that being able to die a quick and painless death is a luxury. Daozu Tian snorted disdainfully in response. It won't be too late to say such arrogant words after you've killed all the cultivators of Hong Tian Divine Realm and breached Hong Tian Divine Palace. Asterisk whoosh whoosh whoosh, asterisk another 100,000 cultivators from Hong Tian Divine Realm charged out of the barrier. They were filled with grief, anger, and determination as they charged towards Su Fong without hesitation. Su Fong Dankong unleashed his powerful will to shackle the cultivators and roared, I killed Hong Tian Daozu because he sided with the foreign races. It has nothing to do with you. Now that he's using you as cannon fodder, you still want to work for that shameless bastard? The leader of the 100,000 cultivators, a Dao saint, shouted angrily, Su Fong, you may be strong, but we won't allow you to slander Hong Tian Daozu like this. You killed Hong Tian Daozu in front of everyone, and we all saw it. How dare you quibble? Quibble? If it weren't for the fact that I don't want to kill the innocent, why would I waste my breath in front of you? Su Fong laughed involuntarily. He looked at the Dao saint and the cultivators of Hong Tian Divine Realm with pity in his eyes. These cultivators of Hong Tian Divine Realm had clearly been brainwashed by Hong Tian Daozu. They were all idiots, and it was impossible to reason with them. Only strength could convince them. The Dao Saint from Hong Tian Divine Realm shouted, Su Fong, kill us all if you can. Otherwise, we'll fight you to the death. You want to die? Isn't that easy? Su Fong's gaze landed on the Dao Saint, and his will of slaughter attacked his Dao heart and soul. His Dao heart and soul were shattered, and he died on the spot. Su Fong then grabbed at the air, and a divine aura sucked the shackles of the cultivators of Hong Tian Divine Realm into his Dao Palace. Hong Tian Daozu, how many subordinates do you have? Send them all out. I won't kill them, but I can shackle all of them and turn them into my slaves. I'll shackle as many cultivators as there are in Hong Tian Divine Realm. Su Fong shouted domineeringly, and his voice spread across the entire Imperial Divine Realm. Hong Tian Daozu snorted, but he didn't send any more cultivators to attack Su Fong. Even he, Hong Tian Daozu, would be sending himself to his death, let alone the other cultivators. However, Hong Tian Daozu naturally wouldn't do such a stupid thing as giving them to Su Fong as slaves. Su Fong waved his hand, and hundreds of sword chi of slaughter landed on the barrier around the Imperial Divine Palace. Chi, sword. When the sword chi landed on the barrier, Xian Guang flashed and swallowed a whole. The sword chi disappeared without a trace, and the barrier wasn't shaken at all. This barrier is quite interesting. It's actually connected to the heavenly Dao. Even the peak experts of Hong Tian Daozu can't shake it. Su Fong revealed a look of surprise. As expected of Hong Tian Divine Realm, their foundation was extremely solid. The defenses of the Imperial Divine Palace were so shocking. Even if the peak experts of Hong Tian Daozu didn't have any peerless abilities or powerful Xianguang, they wouldn't be able to break through the defenses even if they spent thousands of years. Let's try again, Su Fong said. Fong was dominated by the evil corpse. He activated his blood fiend Dharma body and unleashed a shocking will of slaughter and the heavenly Tao. Even Slaughter's heart was stimulated. Tao! Tion's slaughter frenzy swept out and crashed into the barrier. Boom! Not. The barrier was finally shaken, and a shocking Xian Guang bloomed. Who knew that divine runes would emerge from the Xian Guang and form a huge talisman? It erupted with the supreme will of the heavenly Tao that contained a supreme order of the heavenly Tao. With a whoosh, it sealed Su Fang's attack. Su Fang's offensive suddenly disappeared, and the enchantment also calmed down. Hong Tian Daozu's figure appeared in the barrier, and he looked at Su Fang with a mocking expression. This seat has been in charge of the Imperial Divine Palace for countless years. How can a newly ascended Daozu like you be able to shake it? The great Tao that this seat cultivates is one of the supreme heavenly Taos called Imperial Heaven. Everything a cultivator has is bestowed by the heavenly Tao. This seat grasps the true essence of the Imperial Heaven Great Tao, and I possess the power of the heavenly Tao. I can confer anything, and everything is under my control. Su Fang, no matter how heaven-defying you are destined to return empty-handed this time. Why don't you get the hell out of the Imperial Divine Realm? Su Fang turned a deaf ear to Hong Tian Daozu's mockery. Instead, he looked at the barrier with a burning gaze. I ascended to Daozu in preparation to create a supreme divine ability of my own great Tao from the heavenly Tao that I have grasped. Since the Imperial Divine Palace's defenses are so strong, I can use it as a target to test out my divine ability. Fang smiled embarrassedly and sat down in the air, as if he was planning to guard this place for a long time. Su Fang, it won't be long before the Tensei people invade the human world. At that time, you won't be able to escape death. Let's see how long you can last in the Imperial Divine Realm. Hong Tian Daozu let out a disdainful snort, and his figure disappeared into the barrier. In the Leisha Origin Realm, Realm Spirit has the Tao, but there is no law. I am the heavenly Tao, and the heavenly Tao is me. The heavenly Tao encompasses everything, and there is no need to be constrained by the predecessors. In fact, there is no need to be constrained by the heavenly Tao. After Realm Spirit failed the fourth trial in the Leisha Origin Realm, he said these words to Su Fang. Su Fang didn't quite understand them. After ascending to Daozu, Su Fang had a deep understanding of the heavenly Tao. I need to forget everything before I can create a supreme divine ability. Chapter 32:23. Just like that, Su Fang began to comprehend and cultivate right outside the Royal Heaven Divine Palace. Actually, it wouldn't be difficult for him to release the heavenly devourer beetles to tear through the palace's defenses, but he wanted to test out his new ability, so he naturally wouldn't use them. Arrogant, too arrogant. How dare you look down on this seat and the Imperial Heaven Divine region? Tian Daozu had been paying attention to Su Fang's every move, and he couldn't help but grit his teeth when he saw that Su Fang didn't put the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace in his eyes at all. However, he was extremely wary of Su Fang's strength. So how could he dare to leave the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace? It wasn't just Tian Daozu. The other cultivators of the Imperial Heaven Divine region didn't dare to approach Su Fang either. You've suppressed so many experts of the Tensei people, so how could they let you go? You can slowly wait for your death here. When the experts of the Tensei people arrive, we'll see how you die then. Tian Daozu could only place his hopes on the Tensei people, and he sneered in his heart. What is Su Fang doing? He's actually cultivating outside the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace? Isn't he looking down on Tian Daozu too much? Only Su Fang could be so domineering to look down on an expert of the Daozu. That Tian Daozu is too despicable. He's courting death, and now that Su Fang is determined to kill him, how can he not be unlucky? Many experts sent their consciousnesses to the Imperial Heaven Divine region to pay attention to Su Fang's every move. When they saw that Su Fang was cultivating outside the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace, they were all shocked. Time passed. Su Fang gradually immersed himself in a mysterious state of emptiness, and his Tao heart became clear. At this moment, the peerless abilities that he had cultivated in the past flashed through his mind before gradually fading away until he completely forgot about them. Forgot about my master's 10-direction seal. Forgot about them. Memorized the heavens' secret life shrinking art. Forgot about them. Memorized the heavens' secret art. Forgot about them. He memorized the yang transformation profound technique. He also forgot about the formless heavenly wheels. These unparalleled divine abilities all came from other people, while Su Fong was currently cultivating his own heavenly Tao. No matter how powerful his divine ability was, it would be difficult for him to unleash its greatest power. And in the end, to Su Fong, those exceptional divine powers became shackles. He needed to create his own peerless divine ability on top of his own heavenly Tao. The divine abilities that he had grasped before could be used as a reference to extract the essence of the profound meanings. But in the end, they were all abandoned. After ascending to Daozu, Su Fong had been constantly cultivating and pondering in the eastern profound heavenly pavilion. He had already gained quite a bit. Right now, he was just pondering further before verifying it. Time unknowingly, close to 10,000 years had passed. Imperial edict the cultivators inside the heavenly deity palace didn't dare to leave and could only stay inside. The other cultivators in the Imperial Heaven Divine domain didn't even dare to approach the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace. Wait, after 10,000 years, the Imperial Heaven Daozu still didn't see the Tensei people. Su Fong was still calmly waiting outside the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace. Although the Imperial Heaven Daozu was greatly disappointed, he didn't despair. He had full confidence in the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace's defenses. He didn't believe that Su Fong had the strength to break through the barrier. I cultivate the unparalleled heavenly Tao. The divine abilities that I create should follow the great Tao that I've grasped and the various heavenly Taos that I've comprehended. Every one of my avatars is a heavenly Tao. However, that's not the entirety of my great Tao. My Tao is the unparalleled heavenly Tao. What is the strongest divine ability in the unparalleled heavenly Tao? Looking at all the powerful divine abilities, all of them follow the heavenly Tao. Their ultimate goal is only one: destruction. The world is heartless. Regardless of whether it's life or matter, everything will eventually be destroyed. Only destruction is the end of all things, the final destination. As he continued to ponder, Su Fong understood more and more, and his thoughts became clearer. Until this day. See, Su. He suddenly opened his eyes, and various scenes surged in his eyes. Tion. The earth cracked. Life, matter, time, space, yin and yang, the 5 elements, and so on collapsed and were destroyed. They were all heading towards the end, and eventually returned to a state of chaos. The first divine ability that I created is destruction. All things and all things return to the void. Hence, it's called the Great Return to Ruin technique. Fong smiled slightly. A terrifying aura of Tao lingered around him. See, an aura surged out from his glabella. His thoughts, will, and nebulous primordial chi instantly condensed into a chaotic mirror that looked somewhat similar to the Origin Sacred Mirror. Dong. However, it wasn't the Origin Sacred Mirror. Mixed. The Origin Sacred Mirror had risen with Su Fong from a low-level universe and eventually transcended it. Hence, it had become a part of his destiny and was difficult to part with. See, when he created the divine ability, it came from his heart and naturally transformed into the Origin Sacred Mirror. Chi. Mirror. A beam of chaotic light shot out from the mirror and landed on the boundary outside the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace. The seemingly simple beam of light contained a supreme truth that could destroy all things and all things. It could turn everything into nothingness and head towards the end. This supreme truth of the heavenly Tao was above all other truths. It could destroy everything and bring all things and all things to an end. The incomparably powerful boundary was shaken by the beam of light. The array formation shattered layer by layer and turned into a state of nothingness as a whole was torn open. What kind of divine ability is this? It actually contains such a shocking supreme truth of the heavenly Tao. It can even shake the boundary of the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace. Inside the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace, Daozu was shocked when he sensed this scene. He had never expected that Su Fong would be able to create such a shocking divine ability after cultivating outside the boundary for 10,000 years. However, the boundary of the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace was extremely powerful. After Su Fong's divine ability broke a hole in the boundary, it immediately shot out Xian Guang and intertwined into a talisman. The hole was quickly mended. Su Fong's divine ability had also exhausted its power, and the mirror became blurry. Su Fong's aura also became much weaker. He raised his eyebrows and waved his hand to sweep up the mirror formed by the divine ability. It turned into a stream of chaotic energy and was absorbed into his body. Imperial Heaven Divine Palace Daozu immediately calmed down and sneered disdainfully. Su Fong, this is your divine ability? Your self-created divine ability is quite extraordinary, but it's a pity that you haven't mastered it yet. Perhaps you can just barely reach the elementary glimpse stage after cultivating for another era. It won't be too late for you to come to the Imperial Heaven Divine Realm then. Inside the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace, the cultivators of the Imperial Heaven Divine Realm burst into laughter. Su Fong's self-created divine ability is truly amazing. It's a pity that he has only scratched the surface. It's hard for him to unleash the essence of the great Tao he cultivates. In the future, Su Fong will definitely be able to create a divine ability that surpasses Dongxian Daozu's Yin-Yang Prime technique and Shixian Daozu's formless heavenly wheel. With this divine ability, Su Fong will have the right to establish his own sect in the human world and pass it down for generations to come. The Daozu of the human race who were paying attention to the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace were also shocked when they saw the power of Su Fong's self-created divine ability. No, Su Fong's self-created divine ability was clearly not mature enough. Many of the Daozu experts felt that it was a pity. Su Fong turned a deaf ear to the ear-piercing laughter and discussions and continued to settle down. 1,000 years passed in the blink of an eye. Su Fong, who had been silent all this time, opened his eyes once more. The corners of his lips curled up slightly, revealing a faint smile. The great return of ruins art I created isn't strong enough because I haven't comprehended its essence yet. Another reason is because of my will. The great return of ruins art is the destructive side of the heavenly Tao, and my evil corpse is the destructive side of my will. Only by fusing my will of slaughter and destruction into the great return of ruins art can I unleash its true power. Su Fong's eyes flashed with a lustrous light. He released his will and coordinated it with his evil corpse, transforming his aura into a god of slaughter and destruction. Sensing Su Fong's aura, the Daozu of the human race, the Daozu of the Imperial Heaven Divine Realm, as well as the cultivators of the Imperial Heaven Divine Realm, all trembled in fear. Just sensing his aura made everyone feel as if the end of the world had arrived, as if it was the end of the world. Read. The primordial mirror above his head erupted with a pillar of chaotic light that was 10 times stronger than before. The heavenly Tao contained within it was also 10 times more powerful than before. Boom, boom. The great return of ruins art blasted a hole in the barrier around the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace, and the hole continued to expand. The barrier began to repair itself, but the speed of repair was far from enough to keep up with Su Fong's great return of ruins art. A dozen breaths later, the barrier around the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace was finally completely torn apart, revealing the interior of the palace. Daozu of the Imperial Heaven. Su Fong's voice was filled with killing intent as he charged through the hole in the barrier. How long has it been since you became a Daozu of the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace? How can you create such a powerful ability that can break through the barrier of the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace? This is impossible. Daozu of the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace. A cry of shock rang out from within the palace. Daozu of the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace has betrayed the human race. This has nothing to do with the other cultivators of the Imperial Heaven Divine Realm. If anyone helps Daozu of the Imperial Heaven Divine Realm, they will also be punished. Su Fong charged into the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace as his majestic voice rang out in all directions. All the cultivators within the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace trembled in fear under Su Fong's will, and they lost all will to fight. Su Fong, this seat will fight you to the death. Daozu of the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace burned himself, and at the same time, channeling the origin energy of the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace into a vast heavenly Dao sealing power that surged towards Su Fong. The entire Imperial Heaven Divine Palace turned into a huge cage that tried to trap Su Fong within. Do you think you have the qualifications to fight to the death with me, Su Fong? Su Fong sneered disdainfully, waving his hand to shoot out a heaven-piercing Blood King Rattan. Whoosh! Pierce! The heaven-piercing Blood King Vine's ability to pierce through the heavens and earth was on full display at this moment. Even the shackles of the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace couldn't stop it in the slightest. Chi! Daozu of the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace couldn't escape even if he flew into the sky or burrowed into the ground. Su Fong, don't even think about killing this seat. Daozu of the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace clenched his teeth and roared as he began to burn wildly. You don't have the qualifications to fight to the death in front of me. You don't even have the qualifications to immolate yourself. Chapter 32:24. Su Fong's eyes blazed with soul-devouring power, and a soul-devouring power enveloped Dao Ancestor Jition. It turned out that Su Fong had activated the longevity lamp. Under the might of the longevity lamp, Jition Daozu couldn't resist at all. Even self-immolation had become an extravagant hope. Thena's the soul-devouring flames in Su Fong's eyes danced. Jition Daozu's soul essence began to leave his body uncontrollably. Longevity lamp. To be able to die under a grand mist heavenly treasure like the longevity lamp, I can die without any regrets. Dao Ancestor Jition knew that he would not be able to escape death, so he roared in despair and anger. Su Fong said indifferently, "You misunderstand. I won't use the longevity lamp to kill you. As I said before, death is an extravagant hope for you. I will use the longevity lamp's soul-devouring flames to burn your soul for eternity." Jition Daozu was truly afraid now. He roared in anger, "Su Fong, how dare you treat me like this? I am a Daozu of the human race, a supreme being of a divine realm. How are you any different from those foreign races and evil cultivators if you torture me like this? Betraying the human race is a crime punishable by death. You even inverted right and wrong, using the cultivators of Jition divine realm as cannon fodder. How can I let such a shameless person die so easily? I want everyone in the human race to know the consequences of betraying the human race." As soon as Su Fong's cold voice fell, the soul-devouring flames in his eyes flickered. A figure was sucked out of Jition Daozu's body and into Su Fong's eyes, disappearing into the flames. Then Su Fong shackled Jition Daozu's soul within the longevity lamp, causing him to be constantly burned by the soul-devouring flames. Whoosh! With a wave at his hand, Su Fong sucked Jition Daozu's corpse into his body. Tight! With a thought, Su Fong sent out a divine aura. In an instant, the divine aura enveloped the entire Jition Divine Palace. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Only total of 7 Dao Saints were grabbed by Su Fong. Under his aura and will, the Dao Saints were unable to fight back at all. They were like weak chickens. This is the 7 Dao Saints were the upper echelons of the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace. Here, sure, Jition Daozu had been suppressed by Su Fong, and they had fallen into Su Fong's hands. Some of them were terrified and in despair, while others were filled with hatred and unyielding. They glared at Su Fong viciously. Su Fong Xingguang swept his gaze across the 7 Dao Saints and said coldly, You people don't know right from wrong, good from evil. Now that Qitian Daozu is suppressed by me, you people still don't know how to repent. Since you are so stubborn, it wouldn't be too much for me to kill all of you." 3 of the Dao saints hurriedly knelt down in front of Su Fong. "How would we dare to go against the will of Qitian Daozu? Please forgive us, people of Su Fong Da." Su Fong looked at one of the middle-aged men and asked, "If I remember correctly, you once participated in the Heavenly Scramble Conference held by the foreign races and were saved by me." The middle-aged man trembled as he cupped his fists. "I will always remember the kindness of Su Fong Da for saving my life. However, I don't dare to go against the will of Qitian Daozu. Please forgive me, people of Su Fong Da." Su Fong nodded and said, "From today onwards, I will be staying in the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace. I don't want to interfere with the other mystic worlds and factions in the Imperial Heaven Divine region. I will leave them to you to manage. The other 2 will assist you." The middle-aged man and the other 2 were shocked before they were overjoyed. "Shameless traitor!" The old man let out a thunderous roar. "You don't know the difference between life and death," Su Fong said coldly. A will of slaughter burst out and destroyed the old man's soul. The other 3 Dao saints quickly knelt down, and no one dared to make a sound. "All cultivators in the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace are to leave the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace. Also, I don't want to see the Imperial Heaven Divine region in chaos. Do you understand?" Su Fong said majestically. At this moment, in the face of his heavenly might, the 6 experts from the Royal Heaven Divine Realm trembled in fear and hurriedly voiced their agreement. "Go!" Su Fong waved his hand and moved the 6 Dao saints out of the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace. Tight! Then, the tens of millions of cultivators in the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace were all moved out by Su Fong's divine might. "Su Fong, are you planning to leave the Eastern Profound Heaven Pavilion and use the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace as a place to cultivate?" Dongxian Daozu suddenly transmitted his divine sense to Su Fong. Su Fong replied, "The Heavenly Pavilion is Master's abode after all. Disciple has already become a Daozu, so it's not appropriate for me to stay with Master. Furthermore, Disciple needs to focus on improving my strength so that I can pass the test of the Luai's origin realm as soon as possible. The Imperial Heaven Divine Palace has a good environment for cultivation, so Disciple wants to use the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace as a place to cultivate. Furthermore, Disciple will move all my family and subordinates into the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace." With Su Fong's current strength, he naturally didn't need to cultivate any forces. The reason he wanted to take over the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace was so that his family, friends, and subordinates could have a safe place to cultivate. Dongxian Daozu was a little worried. "If that's the case, I'm afraid you'll attract a lot of criticism." Su Fong chuckled. "Master, why would I care about what outsiders say?" Dao ancestor Dongxian guffawed as well. "You shoulder the great responsibility of the human race's survival. Criticism is nothing. Cultivate in peace. I will personally send your relatives and subordinates on planet Migres to you. As for those rumors, although you don't care, I can't ignore them. I'll take care of everything for you." After communicating with Dongxian Daozu, Su Fong's figure flashed, and he teleported into the depths of the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace. Su Fong carefully probing the interior of the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace, he saw many Dao fields, secret realms, and cultivation environments that were many times better than the Migres origin realm. He entered the abode where Daozu used to cultivate. Shuang, the ocean-like great Dao origin, arrived at the island in the center. Su Fong was even more delighted when he sensed the pure and high-level aura within the space. The Imperial Heaven Divine Realm's foundation is so deep. What right does that shameless bastard Daozu have to enjoy such a cultivation paradise? Suddenly, the heavenly devourer insects became restless and wanted to rush out of the Dao Palace uncontrollably. What kind of treasure is that? Why are the heavenly devourer insects so agitated? Su Fong looked at a huge rock on the island in surprise and then teleported over. The rock was 100 zhang tall and square, and it looked like a huge seal. It was completely golden and exuded an aura of immortality. Although it wasn't as powerful as a grand mist heavenly treasure, it surpassed a king-grade Xianbao. Su Fong carefully probed. This huge rock was actually a grand mist heavenly treasure that hadn't fully formed yet. It was also a half-step grand mist heavenly treasure. He sent a wisp of his consciousness into the space within the longevity lamp and arrived at the formation shackling Qitian Daozu's soul. With a thought, the flames around Qitian Daozu's soul disappeared without a trace. Let me ask you, Daozu, what kind of treasure is that rock? Su Fong asked Qitian Daozu's soul. You shackled my soul and made me suffer such torment. You even occupied my cave. Why should I tell you? Qitian Daozu's soul was extremely weak, but it was still as stubborn as ever. Su Fong immediately unleashed another burst of scorching spiritual flames, which enshrouded Dao ancestor Qi Tian and began to incinerate him. Oh, it hurts. It hurts so much. Spare me. I'll tell you everything. Qi Tian Daozu couldn't bear the pain and had no choice but to beg for mercy. Su Fong retracted his soul flames and said indifferently, If you cooperate obediently, I can at least let you suffer less. You're ruthless, Ancestor Tian, Dao angrily said. Then he explained the origin and use of the rock to Su Fong in detail. The rock was called the Imperial Heaven Rock, and it was a supreme treasure born from the primal chaos. Although it hadn't matured into a grand mist heavenly treasure, it was still a peerless treasure that surpassed a king-grade Xianbao. Imperial Heaven Rock Qitian Daozu was originally an ordinary person. It was precisely because he obtained the Imperial Heaven Rock that he comprehended the Imperial Heaven Dao that he became the ruler of a divine region. Imperial Heaven Rock The Imperial Heaven Rock could draw upon the powerful and unique power of the Heavenly Dao. It was a pity that the Imperial Heaven Rock hadn't fully matured into a grand mist heavenly treasure, and Qitian Daozu was just an ordinary Daozu. It wouldn't be able to unleash its full potential. The Imperial Heaven Divine Palace was built with the Imperial Heaven Rock as its core. It was like a Xianbao, and the Imperial Heaven Rock was the foundation of the Xianbao. A shameless person like you won't be able to unleash the brilliance of a peerless treasure in your hands. Su Fong smiled embarrassedly. His consciousness disappeared into the erased space. The longevity lamp's soul suddenly spoke. Master, if you refine the Imperial Heaven Rock properly, it will be of great use to you. Su Fong asked in surprise, Longevity lamp, you know about the Imperial Heaven Rock too? Although I don't know about the Imperial Heaven Rock, I'm a grand mist heavenly treasure after all. Naturally, I can see some clues from the Imperial Heaven Rock's aura. Tell me, what is the use of the Imperial Heaven Rock? If Master refines the Imperial Heaven Rock into a Xianbao, you'll be able to cultivate the power of the Heavenly Dao and have the ability to confer the power of the Heavenly Dao. Even the Great Returning Ruins technique that I created is only at the small success stage. Where would I find the energy to refine the Imperial Heaven Rock? If Master knows about the other ability of the Imperial Heaven Rock, I don't think he would say that. What other ability? For example, the Imperial Heaven Rock is like the seal of an emperor in the mortal world. It represents the supreme power of an emperor. It can bestow riches and honor to the people. At the same time, it can also deprive the nobles of their power. Master, do you understand what I mean now? Su Fong's eyes lit up. Yes. According to the longevity lamp, if the Imperial Heaven Rock was refined into a Xianbao, it would have the supreme power to bestow or deprive a cultivator of various abilities. The ability to deprive a cultivator of their abilities aside, the ability to bestow upon a cultivator was something that Su Fong had always wanted to possess. Experts had an ability to bestow divine grace upon ordinary cultivators, allowing them to possess life and various extraordinary abilities. No, there were many limitations to this ability. Not only would it deplete one's cultivation base and luck, but the cultivator who was bestowed with this ability would also have limited achievements in the future. Because, Chapter 32:25. It was truly unbelievable that the Heaven Edict Stone could bestow or deprive a cultivator of their abilities. Su Fong asked, Longevity Lamp, if I were to refine the Heaven Edict Stone into a Xian Bao, I would be able to deprive the enemy of their abilities. At the same time, I could also take the enemy's abilities for myself or bestow them to other cultivators. Is that what you mean? The Longevity Lamp replied, That is the ability of the Heaven Edict Stone. As for how powerful it is, I don't know for sure. However, there's one thing that I am certain of. The Heaven Edict Stone's power is definitely extraordinary. If I were to refine it into a Xian Bao, it would be difficult to find a master artifact refiner in the human race who could refine such a powerful Xian Bao. I would have to go to the other races to find one. Where would I find such a powerful artifact refiner now? Su Fong couldn't help but feel discouraged when he thought of this. The human race was a low-level race. This was not only because the human race was low-level, but also because the cultivation civilization was at the bottom of the chaos. Even with a supreme material like the Heaven Edict Stone, it would be difficult to refine it into a powerful Xian Bao. After thinking for a moment, Su Fong's eyes suddenly lit up. If I use the Heaven Edict Stone as the divine source and refine it into an avatar, wouldn't I have the ability of the Heaven Edict Stone? Master's idea is not bad. You can treat the Heaven Edict Stone as your subordinate and refine it into an avatar. Su Fong had the Jiuquan Dao Palace, so he could refine 9 avatars. Including the Blood Fiend avatar, Su Fong now had 9 avatars. However, the Blood Fiend avatar did not occupy the avatar slot, so he could refine another avatar. Cultivation refining an avatar was more difficult than refining the Xian Bao. However, Su Fong could not find a powerful artifact refiner, so it was much easier for him to refine the Heaven Edict Stone into an avatar. Connect Su Fong stripped off his blood, thoughts, and primordial qi, and seeped them into the Heaven Edict Stone and began to fuse with it. Bith Heaven Edict Stone was the formation core of the Heaven Edict Divine Palace. As long as he could fuse with the Heaven Edict Stone, he would be able to control the entire Heaven Edict Divine Palace. Connected at this time, Su Fong also began to cultivate. Apart from the Jiuquan's limitless scripture, the most important Great Returning Ruins technique. The Great Ruins and I created is only at the initial success stage. It's clearly not enough to pass the Lightning Pool's Origin Realm's 4th firmament test. I need to cultivate it to the perfected stage. When a cultivator's Dharma body was cultivated to the extreme, it would be the manifestation of the heavenly Tao. All the Dharmakayas also need to comprehend the heavenly Tao and create their own divine abilities from the heavenly Tao that they have mastered. The grand technique of Ruins End is the main, and the divine ability of the avatar is the auxiliary. In this way, my overall strength would be able to undergo a transformation, and only then would I possess the ability to face various formidable enemies. Su Fong pondered for a while and came up with a very clear plan. Unknowingly, Su Fong had spent 100,000 years on the island. Period Dongshuan Daozu personally brought all the cultivators of the Migres planet to the Imperial Heavenly Divine Palace. Holy Sovereign Xieju, Wine Saint, and the others also came to the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace. Evil Saint Sovereign Zhu was determined to follow Su Fong. Wherever Su Fong went, he would follow. Although the human race had already left the Western Profound Divine Realm, the cultivators of the Western Profound Divine Realm had either fled or been killed. The Western Profound Mountain had been sealed, and the other profound worlds had all been plundered by the foreign races. Wine Saint and the other cultivators of the Western Profound Mountain did not return to the Western Profound Divine Realm. Instead, they followed Su Fong and stayed in the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace. Su Fong had Wine Saint distribute the training grounds and resources, and left all other matters to him. Su Yao Tian, Xian Yin Tian, Shu Yunkong, and the rest of Su Fong's family, friends, and former subordinates were all arranged to cultivate in the various training grounds and secret realms in the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace. The cultivators of Su Fong's heavenly Tao Dharma body, including the Big Goblin, were all moved back into the heavenly Tao Dharma body. He planned to place the cultivators of these low-level universes in the lower three heavens of the Luai's original realm the next time he entered it. That is, even if Su Fong encountered any mishaps in the future, these cultivators could continue to reproduce in the Luai's original realm and continue the human race's future. After everything was settled, Su Fong continued to settle down in the depths of the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace. Su Fong, he separated a wisp of his consciousness and entered the depths of the palace, arriving at the formation that was shackling Zhu Si and the other Tensei people. Zhou Nua's father looked at Su Fong's wisp of consciousness and smiled. Human cultivator, you've finally appeared. If I'm not mistaken, the experts of the Tensei people have arrived. You have no choice but to let me go. Su Fong laughed and said awkwardly, "You're overthinking things. The Tensei people did not send anyone to save you, and I have no intention of letting you go." The hope that Zhou Nua's father and the other Tensei people had just ignited was instantly extinguished. Su Fong, he looked at the Tensei people's Daozu expert, Zhu Si, and said, "You go out and help me create a chronoformation." As it turned out, Su Fong's goal was to have the experts of the Tensei people help him create a chronoformation on the island. This island was the cultivation ground of Qitian Daozu. There was also a chronoformation on the island. The flow of time inside was more than 600 times faster than the outside world. Although it was extraordinary, it was still inferior to Dongxian Daozu's cave dwelling. The Tensei people had mastered the Chrono Great Dao. It was naturally easy for Zhu Si, a Daozu expert, to create a chronoformation. "You want me to help you? Don't even think about it." Zhu Si refused without hesitation. "Open." What a joke. Zhu Si was shackled by Su Fong. All these years, he had treated him as a blood pig for cultivation and recovery. Naturally, Zhu Si hated him to the core. How could he help him? A human ant wants to order the experts of the Tensei people around. "You can kill us, but you want us to help you? No way." Zhou Nua's father and the other Tensei people also mocked Su Fong. Su Fong smiled embarrassedly. He waved his hand and summoned a blood vine. It tightly wrapped around Zhou Nua's father, and the blood threads seeped into his body. "If you're not willing to help me, then there's no point in keeping you alive." Fong activated the heaven-piercing Blood King vine and began devouring Zhou Nua's father's blood energy. And no only then did Zhou Nua's father start to panic. "Stop. I'll order them to help you." Zhu Si and the other Tensei people were helpless. They had no choice but to agree. Also, perhaps they wouldn't help Su Fong even if he killed them. However, Zhou Nua's father was a coward. The Tensei people had a very strict hierarchy. If Zhou Nua's father died at Su Fong's hands, the other Tensei people wouldn't be able to escape death. It might even implicate their families and clansmen. Su Fong opened up an independent space-time in the depths of Qitian Divine Realm. Then he had Zhu Si and the other Tensei people work together to create a chronoformation. Apart, aside from Zhu Si, there were a total of 12 Daozu of the Tensei people. They were all experts who had grasped the true essence of the Chrono Grand Dao. Naturally, the chronoformation created by so many Daozu was incomparably shocking. After nearly 100,000 years, countless resources, treasures, and the exhaustion of the dozen or so Daozu of the Tensei people, they finally completed a chronoformation known as an inch of een is like years. Fong withdrew Zhu Si and the other Daozu of the Tensei people back into the Dao Palace. Then, he entered the chronoformation. As soon as Su Fong entered the chronoformation, he sensed that the flow of time inside the chronoformation was shockingly different from the outside world. It was actually 3,000 times faster than the outside world. One had to know that the Dongxian Daozu had spent an incalculable amount of time to create a chronoformation that was 1,000 times faster than the outside world. The dozen or so Daozu of the Tensei people had only used 100,000 years to create a chronoformation that was 3,000 times faster than the outside world. It was truly astonishing. Heaven Su Fong couldn't help but admired the Chrono clan's mastery of the Chrono Great Tao. With such a powerful Chrono formation, Su Fong was confident that his strength would be greatly enhanced before he entered the original realm of Luai's next time. It would be enough for him to pass the test of the fourth heaven. Su Fong settled down inside the Chrono formation and no longer cared about the outside world. He began to settle down into a state of cultivation. Su Fong opened his eyes and counted with his fingers. He had actually spent 100 million years in the Chrono formation. Fortunately, he had cultivated the immortal Tao heart. His Tao heart was strong enough and his state of mind was unbelievably high. No matter how much time passed, his Tao heart and state of mind were eternal and immortal. Know the moment he left the Chrono formation, the difference in time between the Chrono formation and the outside world would cause his Tao heart to collapse. This was also a major drawback of the Chrono formation. However, it didn't affect Su Fong much. My cultivation has increased to the normal state of the Daozu. I've finally cultivated the great ending technique to the point of great success. The other Dharmakayas have also comprehended some extraordinary great magical powers. The only thing they lack is tempering. Fong felt joy in his heart after sensing it. No, in terms of cultivation and magical powers, he had completely fused with the Imperial Heavenly Stone. This meant that he had complete control over the Imperial Heavenly Divine Palace. However, he still needed a long time to settle down before he could cultivate the Imperial Heavenly Stone into the 10th Dharmakaya. After a cultivator surpassed the Tao Lord level, it would be extremely difficult to cultivate a Dharmakaya. It would be even more difficult for Daozu's experts to cultivate a Dharmakaya. No, Su Fong had plenty of patience. Cultivation wasn't something that could be done overnight. Moreover, Daozu's cultivation time was usually counted in epochs. Suddenly, buzz, buzz, buzz. A commotion came from Su Fong's body. He waved his hand and took out a leaf-shaped rune. It was the rune that the precious tree mother had given him to transmit messages. Su Fong, come from the chaos outside the Imperial Heavenly Divine Realm. I want to see you. The precious tree mother's emotionless voice came from the rune. The precious tree mother has come to the human world. What is the meaning of this? Su Fong furrowed his brows and put away the rune. He then flew out of the formation and left the Imperial Heavenly Divine Palace. Greetings, Senior. Inside the primal chaos, Su Fong saw the precious tree mother. The precious tree mother wasn't alone. Behind her were two cultivators from the celestial tree race who looked similar to her. One of them was an elder from the celestial tree race. He had a head of yellow hair and skin that looked like dried tree bark. There was a woman who looked a few years younger than the precious tree mother. She had a face that could topple the world and a pair of limpid eyes. Elder. Chapter 32:26. Who would have thought that a little human cultivator from back then would actually become a Daozu and a leader of the human race? A strange glint flashed in her eyes when she thought about Su Fong's cultivation. Clang. When she first met Su Fong in the Western Black Mountain, she was a high and mighty Daozu, and not an ordinary Daozu either. Even top Daozu experts had to be polite to her. At that time, Su Fong was less than an ant in her eyes. If it wasn't for Su Fong using the heavenly devouring insects to injure the 12 precious trees, she wouldn't even care about Su Fong. Now, Su Fong was on the same level as the precious tree goddess and had defeated the top Daozu of the Tensei people, Zhou Huan. How could she not be shocked? Su Fong was trying to guess the intentions of the precious tree divine mother. Bao the tree goddess's tone suddenly became cold. Before, when I proposed a deal with you, I wanted to lend you a hand and think of a way for you to take the Thunder Lake original realm. But you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth and openly oppose the Tensei people. Where did you get the courage? Su Fong raised his eyebrows. The tree goddess continued. You are challenging the dignity of the Tensei people. So how could the Tensei people let this go? If I help you, how could the Tensei people let my race go? Su Fong finally understood. The tree goddess clearly didn't want to offend the Tensei people and was afraid that helping Su Fong would lead to the Tensei people's revenge. He said lightly, Your Excellency, You mean that I deserve to be killed by the Tensei people, and that I can only endure and accept it because I don't know the immensity of heaven and earth? Since your excellency is afraid of the heavenly tree race being implicated, then let's forget about our previous deal. The tree goddess frowned and revealed a displeased expression. Human brat, how can you be so rude in front of the godmother? The woman behind the precious tree, divine mother, suddenly spoke in a charming voice. That femme fatale face suddenly revealed a smile, like an incomparably beautiful flower blooming. An aura swept over. The flames in Fong's body surged, and a wave of desire surged uncontrollably in his Dao heart. It wasn't some evil method. The woman's aura contained a strange, great Tao of life that could stimulate the primal instincts of all things, making people uncontrollably want to reproduce. Such a great Tao was truly strange and shocking. However, Su Fong possessed an immortal Tao heart. How could he be so easily shaken? With a thought, Su Fong's Tao heart became stable again, and the flames in his body disappeared. Female seeing Su Fong's nonchalant expression, he said in surprise, You really do have some skill. No wonder you dare to offend the Tensei people and even the godmother. So you have the right to be arrogant. Let this seat see what kind of skills a human brat like you has to be so arrogant. The heavenly tree elder shouted indifferently, his eyes suddenly shooting out a yellow light. Boom! Only heavenly Tao that could cause all things to wither and die crushed towards Su Fong. Su Fong felt that his life was rapidly withering like a tree, decaying and ultimately turning into dust. The heavenly tree race has two other experts besides the precious tree, Divine Mother. No wonder they can establish themselves in the primal chaos. Su Fong was shocked, also not daring to be careless. His profound Yang Dharma body suddenly erupted with a mighty Yang aura that contained the heavenly Tao's profound Yang Dharma body and collided with the elder's heavenly Tao. The opposing heavenly Tao's profound Yang Dharma body collided. Su Fong's profound Yang Dharma body clearly countered the elder's withering life Dharma body. Under the profound Yang Dharma body's profound Yang Dharma body, layer by layer, began to melt and incinerate. The elder's body trembled, and his withered face paled. Su Fong, on the other hand, did not budge. He clearly had the upper hand. Although your heavenly Tao's profound Yang Dharma body counters this seat, you are just an ordinary Daozu who has just ascended. How can you be my match? The elder shouted coldly. His thoughts surged out of his body and turned into 3,000 withered vines that slithered towards Su Fong like poisonous snakes, wanting to drag Su Fong into death. Su Fong raised his eyebrows. Only now did he realize that the precious tree Divine Mother had come for no other reason than to test his strength. If Su Fong was not strong enough, then not only would the previous deal be canceled, the precious tree mother would also imprison Su Fong and hand him over to the Tensei people in exchange for a supreme treasure that could help her become eternal, the main root of the Thunder Swamp Vine. 9 suns burning the heavens. Then he released 100,000 thoughts, which quickly combined and arranged themselves into 9 divine suns, releasing blazing profound sun divine might. Shishi. 9 The divine sun exploded with terrifying light and heat, transforming into a crimson flame that instantly burned. Astonishing flame divine might and the ultimate truths converged to form a wave of fire that crashed toward the 3,000 withered vines. Positive this was an ability created by Su Fong's Xian Yang Dharma body from the Xian Yang Dharma body. It was called the 9 suns burning the heavens. Although it was not as powerful as the Great Return to Ruin technique, it was still incredibly powerful and just happened to counter the Celestial Tree Elder's ability. Chi. The withered vines were incinerated and quickly turned into ashes. Soon, there was nothing left, while the 9 divine suns were still hanging high in the sky. Su Fong was actually the one who won the 2 consecutive confrontations. Su then, with a wave of his hand, the 9 divine suns turned into Xian Guang and were absorbed into his body. However then, he smiled embarrassedly and said, Sir from the celestial tree race, is the strength of a mere human cultivator enough to enter your eyes? Umph. The elder snorted coldly. Then he looked at the beautiful woman and said, Rongzhu, let's work together. The woman smiled at Su Fong and said, Human brat, the great Tao that the desolate ancestor and I cultivate, one withering and the other flourishing, mutually reinforcing and restraining each other. We have created an unparalleled, great divine might. If you have any powerful trump cards, take them all out. Otherwise, you won't have a chance to use them. Su Fong, be careful. But let me remind you, don't use the longevity lamp. Precious Tree Divine Mother suddenly shouted in a deep voice, and then teleported far away, as if she was not involved in this matter. Su Fong sneered inwardly. Strong. Between cultivators, there was no such thing as eternal friendship. There were only benefits. It was like this between cultivators and cultivators of other races. No, with strength, there would be no such thing as a fair trade. The woman and elder released their thoughts at the same time. A green Xianguang and a withered yellow Xianguang merged, instantly forming a world. A divine might of life flourishing and withering and restraining each other enveloped Su Fong. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Su under Fong's feet and in the surrounding space. Countless green grasses quickly grew. At first, they were just sprouts, but they quickly grew into lush weeds. The entire world turned into a green ocean. Su Fong felt his life force surge uncontrollably. God! In the next moment, the endless weeds seemed to have reached the end of their lives. They quickly withered, died, and finally turned into ashes. Then, they sprouted again and grew until they died. The cycle repeated itself endlessly. These weeds grew until they died. They contained a supreme heavenly Tao. They withered and flourished every year, growing and multiplying endlessly, never to be destroyed. Su Fong was shackled in this world. His Tao heart, will, and life were also reincarnated again and again. In the reincarnation of life, his Tao heart was worn down, and his life was also rapidly drained. Come, since the heavenly tree race's ancestor Rong and ancestor Ku, the two of them had grasped completely opposite great Taos. The divine ability they used together was actually so shocking. Life is born, grows, and strengthens. When it reaches the peak, it begins to decline and die, and then it's a new beginning. Not only life, but all living things and all laws are the same. Responding to the astonishing reincarnation power of life, Su Fong suddenly understood. His eyes flashed with a bright light. His great ruins returning art was an ultimate power of heavenly Tao destruction. But what about after destruction? After destruction, it's not the true end, but a new beginning. Su Fong suddenly had a deeper understanding of the great ruins returning art. No, now is not the time to comprehend the divine ability. Facing the unparalleled divine ability of two Daozu peak experts working together, Su Fong did not dare to be careless. Looks like I have to use my most powerful divine ability, Su Fong said. Fong's most powerful divine ability was naturally the great ruins returning art. A terrifying heavenly Tao destruction erupted from Su Fong's body, causing the surrounding layers of shackles and the truth of reincarnation to shatter immediately. Immediately after, primordial qi, thoughts, and will surged out of the Tao palace and instantly condensed into a chaotic mirror. Qi, mirror, a chaotic beam of light shot out. The terrifying power of destroying everything and ending all laws caused the world to be destroyed layer by layer. What kind of divine ability is that? It's so shocking. It can actually resist the supreme divine ability of Ancestor Ku and Ancestor Rong. Mother Tree's divine light changed instantly. She stared at Su Fong in shock, as if she was seeing Su Fong for the first time. Extraordinary! This human cultivator is really extraordinary. Rome exclaimed. Ancestor Ku and Ancestor Ku were also in disbelief. They continued to use their divine power to fight Su Fong. Treasure Mother Tree suddenly said, "Let's stop here." Only then did Ancestor Ku and Ancestor Rong stop. They looked at each other with lingering fear in their hearts. Even if they continued to fight, they would not be able to gain any advantage even if they worked together. Rong Ancestor Ku looked at Su Fong and smiled. Human kid, you are very extraordinary. Elder sister would like to ask for your help and leave a seed for the heavenly tree race. What do you think? Su Fong raised his eyebrows and looked at Mother Tree coldly. Mother Tree, you came to the human world this time to suppress me and then hand me over to the Tensei people, right? Mother Tree smiled embarrassedly. Your Tao companion is my successor, and I have a deal with you first. Why would I do such a thing? Your strength is so extraordinary that you are almost on par with me. It seems like the Luai's original realm is in your pocket. The treasure I want depends on you, so I will not do such a thing. Chapter 32:27. The Tensei people invited experts from other races to deal with me. Fong wasn't surprised at all. Although Zhou Nua's father wasn't a powerful figure among the Tensei people, he was still a king. But in the eyes of the Tensei people, humans were a lowly race like ants. This, Su Fong had captured Zhou Nua's father and so many Tensei people. How could the Tensei people let this go for the sake of their reputation? Since Zhou Nua was bound by the oath, the Tensei people naturally didn't dare to appear in person in order to obtain the Luai's original realm. They also didn't dare to take revenge on Su Fong with great fanfare. Therefore, it wasn't strange for them to invite experts from other races to deal with Su Fong. Su Fong revealed a domineering smile. As long as it's not an immortal expert, I'll kill them all. Kuzu sneered. Human kid, do you know how big the chaos is and how many experts there are? No matter how extraordinary your strength is, do you think you could defeat all the experts in the chaos? Mother Tree stared at Su Fong and said solemnly, I know you have the longevity lamp, a primordial heavenly treasure, and you used it to severely injure the Tensei people's expert, Zhou Huan. However, if you think you can defeat all the experts below the immortal level with just the longevity lamp, you are gravely mistaken. As far as I know, the experts the Tensei people invited this time aren't afraid of your longevity lamp. Not afraid of the longevity lamp? The longevity lamp had the power to devour souls. How could there be experts below Daozu who could resist the longevity lamp's power? Rome Mother Tree smiled charmingly. Human kid, you're really a frog at the bottom of a well. There are countless peerless theurgies in the chaos, and primordial heavenly treasures aren't omnipotent. The longevity lamp spoke in Su Fong's mind. Master, these celestial tree cultivators are correct. There are indeed many divine abilities, Xian Bao, and a few unique life forms that this subordinate's abilities cannot threaten. Fong Xiao then became vigilant and looked at the precious tree goddess. May I ask, Goddess Mother, which race did the Tensei people invite this time? He's an immortal under the command of an immortal from the eternal shrine. His name is Terror Ancestor. The Mother Tree said slowly. Her eyes were filled with fear when she mentioned the name of the Terror Ancestor. Eternal Shrine? Terror Ancestor? You humans have never had an immortal realm master, so you naturally don't know what kind of existence the Eternal Divine Palace is. Since you've merged with the longevity lamp and cultivated it into a Dharmakaya, the original spirit of the longevity lamp will naturally know, so I won't say much. Let me tell you about the Terror Ancestor. Then, the precious tree Divine Mother explained. The Terror Ancestor was actually not a living being. In his previous life, he was called the Terror Divine Ancestor, a peerless fierce god who was famous among the myriad races in the chaos. Later, the Terror Divine Ancestor died when he tried to break through to the immortal realm. However, the Terror Divine Ancestor's strength was truly shocking when he was alive, and he grasped the essence of the heavenly Tao. Thus, even though he died, he still left his mark in the illusory heavenly Tao. An immortal realm master called Luanjuan Origin Ancestor used the Terror Divine Ancestor's mark of the heavenly Tao to help the Terror Divine Ancestor come back to life. After countless years of cultivation, he has now recovered his strength. At this time, the Terror Ancestor had no soul. He was just a peerless being cultivated by the heavenly Tao. He was like a puppet, a killing machine that only knew how to kill. Terror Ancestor had no soul, so Su Fang's longevity lamp could not threaten him. Who would have thought that there would be such an amazing ability in the chaos that could revive a fallen being, in such a strange and powerful existence? Su Fang was shocked and realized the seriousness of the matter. Now you know fear? The desolate ancestor sneered. Afraid? Su Fang asked. Fang smiled embarrassedly. He was just a little worried, but there was no fear in his heart. Thank you for your reminder, Mother God. I will be careful of the Terror Ancestor. Su Fang cupped his fist to the Mother God Daozu. Then after a while, he continued, I promised Mother God, as long as I control the Luai's original realm, I will do it. However, Mother God, please don't be half-hearted. Otherwise, there will be some unpleasantness when the time comes. There was an obvious threat in Fang's tone. Junior, you are so vengeful. I won't argue with you. The precious tree mother snorted coldly. Then, she waved her hand and took out a storage ring. This is a treasure pill refined by my race. There are 3 9-flower fine jade pills. As long as your soul is not destroyed, even if there is only a drop of blood or a strand of hair left, it can restore your life. Su Fang grabbed the storage ring. After sensing it, he was pleasantly surprised. There were tens of millions of pills in the storage ring. The aura of the pills was truly astonishing. They were 10 times purer and more advanced than the king-grade pills refined by human alchemists. Among them, 3 sealed green pills were even more astonishing. Su Fang only sensed them for a moment and felt his spirit hale and hearty. They were the 9-flower fine jade pills mentioned by the precious tree mother. Except, he said to the precious tree mother, the same conditions as before. The heavenly tree race will help you take the Luai's original realm. I will also help you once. If you can't deal with the Terror Ancestor, you can temporarily avoid him and activate the rune talisman. I will quickly rush to the human world to help you. This is a fair trade. Su Fang put away the ring of holding. Just as he was about to teleport away, Rongzhu suddenly smiled and said, Human brat, when will you go to the heavenly tree race and leave your seed? Fang's body trembled. Then, his figure turned into nothingness and disappeared without a trace. Wait. A long time after Su Fang left, the desolate ancestor said apathetically, If the Tensei people find out that Her Excellency is helping the human race, won't it bring disaster to our race? The precious tree mother lightly said, If I want to become eternal, I must obtain the main root of the Luai's vine in the Luai's original realm. How can I not take a little risk? The Tensei people have agreed. As long as you help once and use the 12 treasured trees to break the seal of the Western Black Mountain and release the 10 Directions Divine Lord, Su Fang will die without a doubt. At that time, Zhou Nuo will obtain the Luai's original realm and give the main root of the Luai's vine to you. Just now, you and Rongzhu fought Su Fang together. Between Su Fang and Zhou Nuo, who do you think will become the ruler of the Luai's original realm? The desolate ancestor was speechless. Su Fang, the possibility of Fang obtaining the Luai's original realm was definitely far greater than Zhou Nuo. Bao the Tensei people said, Even if the Tensei people know that I am helping Su Fang, we will at most be in some trouble. Don't forget, we are also a chaotic race protected by the eternal heavenly law. The Tensei people's immortals can't do anything to us. When I obtain the main root of the Luai's vine and become an immortal, I will be directly listed in the eternal shrine. The Tensei people won't dare to do anything to us. You are wise. Rongzhu and desolate ancestor cupped their fists and bowed. We shouldn't stay in the human world for too long. If the Tensei people know about this, it will be more or less troublesome. The precious tree mother rolled out a green light that enveloped desolate ancestor and Rongzhu, then disappeared into the chaos. Su Fang returned to the imperial heavenly god palace. What kind of existence is the eternal shrine? Su Fang couldn't wait to ask as soon as he returned to his cave. Long. The life lamp origin spirit replied. In the past, Master's strength was too low, so I didn't tell Master. With Master's current strength, You are qualified to know about the eternal shrine. Come, mixed. There were countless races living in the chaos, and the races killed and annexed each other. Some powerful races with immortal realm masters would inevitably have conflicts. Once a full-scale war broke out, both sides would suffer losses. This was something no one wanted to see. Therefore, at the beginning of time, before the human race was born in the chaos, the immortal realm masters of the chaos races reached an agreement to set rules to restrain the chaos races. Many immortal realm masters built the eternal shrine. As long as one had the strength of an immortal realm master, they could enter the shrine. The race they belonged to would be bound and protected by the eternal laws. It was because of the existence of the eternal shrine that the chaos races maintained a delicate balance. Although there were still conflicts between the major races, they could still be controlled within a certain range under the eternal laws. And the weak races without immortal realm masters were not protected by the eternal laws. They were slaughtered by the stronger races. Very unfortunately, the human race was in such a situation. The longevity lamp said, if Master can become an immortal realm master and be listed in the eternal shrine, the human race will not have to worry about being wiped out or annexed by other races, even if they are oppressed. How difficult is it to become an immortal realm master? Su Fong shook his head and smiled bitterly. Although he had the qualifications to become an immortal realm master, it did not mean he was destined to become one. He did not know how many difficulties and obstacles there would be and how long it would take for him to take that step. The eternal shrine is too far away for me. The most important thing now is to deal with the terror ancestor who is about to attack the human world. After ending the conversation with the longevity lamp origin spirit, Su Fong entered the space inside the inch-een is like years formation. Open. He began to settle down in his cultivation. At the same time, he separated his thoughts from the outside of the Imperial Divine Palace to be vigilant of the terror ancestor who was about to attack. Time flew. Big. About 300,000 years had passed. Su Fong had cultivated in the formation for an astonishing 300 million years. After such a long time, Su Fong's cultivation was still at Daozu's normal state. Compared to before, his improvement was not that shocking. Reach. At Daozu's height, he was only one step away from the peak of the Great Tao. Every small step was extremely difficult. It was normal that Su Fong's improvement was not big. There was another reason that shackled Su Fong, and that was the 3 corpses. Su Fongnya, after becoming a saint, he cultivated the 3 corpses of obsession, kindness, and evil, which made his strength and improvement speed far surpass ordinary cultivators. However, at Daozu's height, the 3 corpses had become the shackles of his cultivation. Next, he should sever the 3 corpses and reach the state of great oblivion. Only then could he improve his cultivation. No, after such a long time of consolidation, Su Fong's strength had increased tremendously. 300,000 years have passed. Why hasn't the terror ancestor appeared? Could it be that the precious tree goddess is deliberately exaggerating? Chapter 32:28. In Su Fong's Dao Palace, a scroll made up of ancient jade slips appeared. 1. The jade slips emanated a mysterious and ethereal aura of destiny, and they contained unfathomable and profound truths. The scroll slowly unfolded to the left, revealing a jade slip with mysterious Dao runes that were extremely similar to the Dao runes of the fate shrinking technique. This, of course, it wasn't a real scroll. It was a peerless divine ability that Su Fong's Destiny Dharma body had comprehended from the Fate Great Tao. After Su Fong became a Tao ancestor, he had completely forgotten the divine secret life-shortening skill and the mysterious solution of heaven's evolution that he had cultivated. Therefore, the Destiny Celestial Body had created his own supreme divine skills of destiny and divine secret from the divine secret and the great way of destiny that he had mastered. Su Fong called this divine ability the Heavenly Mandate Scripture. Jade the Tao runes on the jade slip flickered and finally condensed into a scene. It was a towering mountain that Su Fong couldn't be more familiar with. It was the main peak of the Western Mystery Mountain. The Western Mystery Mountain? At the same time, mysterious information surged in Su Feng's mind, and his divine light changed instantly. Origin. He used the heavenly mandate scripture to deduce and obtained a result that was beyond his expectations. Treasure. The mother tree hadn't deceived him. It wasn't that the terror progenitor that the Tensei people had invited hadn't come to the human world, but he wasn't targeting Su Feng, but the Western Mystery Mountain. West. The divine Lord of 10 Directions was sealed in the Western Mystery Mountain. Once the seal was broken, the divine Lord of 10 Directions would once again appear in the human world. Wouldn't the calamity come earlier? At that time, the divine Lord of 10 Directions would be able to eliminate Su Feng without the Tensei people personally. Not only would Su Feng be eliminated, but there would also be no one to compete with Zhou Nuo for the Luai's original realm. In this way, Zhou Nuo wouldn't be considered to have broken his oath, and the Luai's original realm spirit wouldn't be able to do anything to him. What Su Feng couldn't figure out was why the Terror progenitor hadn't made a move yet. Who would have thought that the Terror ancestor would be so despicable? If the seal of the Western Profound Mountain is destroyed, all of Master's efforts will be for naught, and the destruction of the human race will be imminent. I hope that we can still make it if we rush over now. How could Su Feng not be anxious when it concerned the survival of the human race? Dang, with a single step, he stepped out of the royal heavenly divine palace and left through the void. West Mount Xian. Dang, after the great battle of 2000, the space around the western Black Mountain had been shattered. Turbulence and ruins were everywhere. It had become a forbidden area of the human world. West, the main peak of the Xian Mountain was still floating in the broken space, unmoving. Whoosh whoosh. The two figures, one in front and one behind, passed through the turbulence and came to a relatively calm space above the Western Mystery Mountain. Qinbu, you've chased me all the way here. I don't want to run anymore. I'll fight you to the death here and completely end the grudge between you and me. One of the middle-aged men gritted his teeth and shouted angrily at the other. This was a middle-aged man whose face was covered in stubble. He had an ancient and downtrodden appearance, and he possessed an extraordinary cultivation at the lower level of the Tao Void realm. The other one looked much younger. He was only in his 20s. He wore a snow-white robe and looked very handsome. His aura was even more powerful. His cultivation had reached the upper level of the Tao Void realm. Hearing the middle-aged man's angry shout, the handsome young man acted as if he didn't hear it. He looked down at the Western Mystery Mountain with cold eyes. The downtrodden middle-aged man was furious. Qinbu, why aren't you talking? Fight to the death with me? Su Wufeng, are you worthy? The handsome young man named Qinbu smiled embarrassedly. His eyes were full of disdain and mockery. The downtrodden middle-aged man was ignored by the young man. He gritted his teeth and was about to attack the young man. Green Yin shook his head and smiled. Suddenly, he asked, Su Wufeng, do you know where this place is? This is the Western Mystery Mountain? Su Wufeng was stunned. He looked at the Western Mystery Mountain with a confused expression. It was as if he had seen this place before. Qin continued to ask, I chased you all the way. You didn't escape anywhere else but to the Western Mystery Mountain. Don't you think it's strange? Confusion appeared in Wufeng's eyes. He shouted coldly, Qinbu, what are you trying to say? Don't worry. I'll tell you everything you want to know and everything you don't want to know, Qinbu said calmly. Qinbu was unruffled. Then he asked, you and I were life and death brothers. We relied on each other since we were young. I took good care of you and saw you as family. Do you know why I tortured your Tao companion to death when you went to other divine realms to train? And why didn't I stop you when you massacred my entire clan to avenge your Tao companion? Wufeng's eyes burned with the flames of hatred. Why? Qinbu said indifferently. Cause and effect. Cause and effect? Su Wufeng was confused. It's a little complicated. I'll make it simpler. Qinbu smiled embarrassedly. He pointed at Qinbu. He looked at the Western Mystery Mountain below and continued, because I needed to attack the Western Mystery Mountain and release a powerful person sealed inside. However, I had many misgivings, so I had to plan a cause and effect on you first. Su Wufeng was dumbfounded. He sneered disdainfully. You want to break the seal of the Western Mystery Mountain? Who do you think you are? The seal of the Western Mystery Mountain was created by the Western Mystery Daozu by fusing his own body with the primordial heavenly treasure heaven prison cage. You, a mere void Dao cultivator, want to break the seal of the Western Mystery Mountain? Qinbu smiled embarrassedly. Although the seal is powerful, it's still a little troublesome for me. However, with you, it's no trouble at all. I just need to find a suitable reason to attack. Wufeng shouted coldly, You're not Qinbu. Who are you? Sizzle, Qinbu's flesh and blood suddenly wriggled and turned into blood qi. His body also began to change. After a while, Qinbu turned into a skeleton without flesh and blood. He was no longer in human form, but a skeletal monster with a human body and a scorpion tail. He exuded a terrifying aura. He was no longer at the void Dao level, but at the peak of the Daozu. Su Wufeng trembled under Qinbu's power. His Dao heart was almost shattered. Qinbu grinned, revealing his white teeth, and said in a terrifying voice, I was called the Terror Divine Ancestor in my previous life. After I was reborn, I was called the Terror Ancestor. You're a foreign race expert who took over Qin Tung's body? That's right. I took over a human's body for you and stayed in the human world for 300,000 years. You don't know, right? You're not an ordinary person. You're the sixth reincarnation of the Western Mystery Daozu. I'm the sixth reincarnation of the Western Mystery Daozu? Su Wufeng's mind rumbled like thunder. Some blurry memories flashed his mind. The Tensei people asked my master to help kill Su Fong. Therefore, I was sent to the human world by my master. I died long ago in my previous life. It was my master who revived the mark I left in the heavenly Dao with his supreme power. Because I was resurrected in defiance of the heavenly Dao, there must be a cause and effect every time I attack. Otherwise, I'll be punished by the heavenly Dao and killed by it. If the Tensei people wanted to kill Su Fong, they couldn't be detected by the Luai's original realm, which existed in the heavenly Dao. It was because of these two reasons that I couldn't attack Su Fong directly. I had to think of another way. Coincidentally, my master mastered the Dao of reincarnation. From the Dao of reincarnation, he found out that you were trying to break through to the immortal realm using the 9 reincarnations method. Therefore, I took over your body in the human world and got close to your 6th reincarnation. I grew up with you and gave you all kinds of favors. Then, when you went out to train, I killed your Dao companion to anger you. In your anger, you killed my entire clan. From then on, you had a life and death karma with me. Therefore, I killed you and used your 6th reincarnation to easily break the seal of your previous reincarnation. It was to end the karma. The heavenly Dao wouldn't send down any punishment, and the Luai's original realm wouldn't be able to detect anything. The Terror Progenitor explained the whole story of the matter. Su Wufeng hadn't recovered his memories yet. He didn't fully understand. However, he understood one thing. In order to kill Su Fong, this foreign race elite didn't hesitate to break the seal of the Western Mystery Mountain. You're also an elite. In order to achieve your goal, you used such despicable methods. When Su Wufeng thought about how his beloved had been tortured to death by this outsider, and how her fate had been played with by this outsider expert, flames of fury burned in his heart. You were just an ant of the human race. Even if you still had the strength of your previous life, I wouldn't take you seriously. Now, your 6th life only has the cultivation of the Dao Void Realm. How could I take you seriously? The Terror Ancestor sneered disdainfully. The white-boned scorpion tail behind him rose. Like a white lightning bolt, it pierced through Su Wufeng's body and began to sizzle and devour Su Wufeng's life and blood. However, boom. A terrifying aura suddenly erupted from Su Wufeng's body. An extremely powerful great Dao of formlessness rumbled out, and it actually blasted the scorpion tail away. Su Wufeng's body and soul began to burn. His aura was no longer at the Dao Void Realm. It had reached the level of Daozu. Early awakening? The Terror Ancestor was surprised. Then, he sneered disdainfully. You haven't completed the 9 reincarnations. Burning your soul now will allow you to have Daozu's strength for a short period of time. In the end, you will die and your reincarnation will be severed. You will never be able to reincarnate and will lose the hope of reaching the immortal realm. For the sake of the human race, I turned myself into a seal and shackled the 10 directions' divine lords. Now, in order to stop you, even if my Dao dies and my reincarnation is severed, so what? At this time, Su Wufeng was no longer the Dao Void Realm cultivator. He was the Western mystery Daozu. His tone was resolute, and his eyes were filled with vicissitudes and solemnity. I didn't expect that the human race would have someone like you. However, in front of me, everything you do is futile. It's laughable and lamentable. Chapter 32:29. The scorpion tail of the Terra Progenitor carried a sharp whistle and a supreme power that could shatter space-time. It swept up space-time turbulence and instantly appeared above the head of the Shi Xian Daozu. If the Shi Xian Daozu was at his peak, he could fight the Terra Progenitor. However, he was currently in his 6th life. He only possessed the strength of the Daozu by awakening early, which was equivalent to overdrawing his future potential. It was naturally difficult for him to fight the Terra Progenitor. The Shi Xian Daozu's 6th life was about to be killed by the Terra Progenitor. Whoosh! However, the Terra Progenitor's divine light changed. The scorpion tail suddenly changed direction and charged toward the Shi Xian mountain. Sizzle wisps of blood energy surged out of the white bone scorpion tail. It was the blood energy of the Terra Progenitor that had just devoured the 6th life of the Shi Xian Daozu. It contained the Shi Xian Daozu's aura of destiny. Qi, the scorpion tail, stabbed into the seal of the Shi Xian mountain. Because the scorpion tail contained the aura of destiny of the Shi Xian Daozu, the seal created by the primordial heavenly treasure heaven prison in the previous life of the Shi Xian Daozu did not stop it. Boom! Boom! Scorpion. A white Xian Guang suddenly erupted from the scorpion tail. The surrounding space-time started to become chaotic. Even the seal started to shatter layer by layer. From the Divine Lord of 10 Directions' surprised and delighted voice came from within the seal. Which expert helped me? I am extremely grateful. I will repay you generously in the future. The Terra Progenitor laughed strangely. I don't need you to repay me. When you break out of the seal and destroy the human race and kill a human cultivator called Su Fong, you will have repaid me. The Divine Lord of 10 Directions said, destroying the human race is my obsession. As for that human cultivator, Su Fong, it's a piece of cake. You want to break the seal that I created in my previous life? Don't even think about it. The 6th life of the Shi Xian Daozu roared. He burned everything and used the formless heavenly wheel to attack the Terra Progenitor fiercely. You are burning your origin soul. Once your true spirit is damaged, it will be difficult for you to reincarnate. The Terra Progenitor had to divert most of his attention to deal with Shi Daozu's frenzied attacks. Shi Xian Dao Ancestor had already turned into a flaming man. He ignored Terror Ancestor's threat and continued to attack Terror Ancestor. Whoosh, a figure shot through the air, and a dense and evil-killing intent instantly enveloped the entire area. It was Su Fong, who had come from the Royal Heaven Divine region. Look! Upon seeing the blazing Dao Father Shi Xian, Su Fong immediately sensed the aura of destiny emanating from him. When he saw the Terror Ancestor destroying the seal of the Western Mystery Mountain, Su Fong immediately understood and roared, Terror Ancestor, you're courting death. The Ancestral Patriarch snorted coldly. Human Cultivator, you're fast. I didn't want to attack you, but if you don't want to be killed by me, get the hell out of my way. The origin of the Ancestral Patriarch was actually a heavenly Dao imprint, possessing an unimaginable sensing ability. He had sensed in advance that Su Fong was charging towards the Western Black Mountain. He was not afraid of Su Fong, but he did not want to fight with Su Fong directly and alert the Luai's original realm's will. Su Fong didn't know, but the Terror Ancestor was very clear. The Reizegu people created a world in the ethereal heavenly Dao. Although the Reizeigu people were punished by the heavens and killed, the world spirit of the Reizeigu original world could borrow the power of the heavenly Tao to sense everything. Kill. Then, an astonishing will of slaughter burst out and charged towards the terror progenitor. Your willpower is indeed extraordinary, but in front of me, it's not worth mentioning. Zhu sneered disdainfully. Suddenly, he opened his mouth and let out a long whistle. Howl! The sound contained a terrifying power that attacked the Tao heart and soul. Ordinary Daozu experts would have their Tao heart shattered instantly. The sixth body of the Western Black Daozu was only affected. Under the impact of the terrifying whistle, he was sent flying and his willpower immediately collapsed. Su Fong shouted. Then, he let out a wild howl and charged towards the terror progenitor's sound attack without any scruples. Boom! Boom boom! Terror the terrifying whistle hit Su Fong's Tao heart and soul, but it could not shake him at all. Immortal Tao heart? Only the immortal Tao heart can resist my heart-shattering terror sound. You human cultivator, you actually cultivated the immortal Tao heart. The terror progenitor was not surprised and let out a cry of disbelief. At this time, Su Fong had already used his most powerful divine ability, the great origin of end art. What kind of powerful divine ability is this? The terror progenitor's expression changed. Only now did he realize that Su Fong could seriously injure Zhou Huan not by luck. However, but it was too late. The terrifying divine power of the great origin of end art that could destroy all things and end all laws turned into a pillar of chaotic light that hit him. Boom! Rumble! Crack! The terror progenitor's body started to shatter under the destructive power, turning into bone fragments that flew everywhere. Abrupt, caught off guard, the terror progenitor, a powerful peak expert of the Daozu, was killed by Su Fong's great origin of end art. Su Fong had cultivated the great origin of end art to perfection for 300 million years. Its power was terrifying. Only golden Xian Guang flashed. The terror progenitor's shadow shrouded the Xian Guang and escaped into nothingness, disappearing into the ethereal heavenly Tao. The terror progenitor was a mark left in the heavenly Tao. Su Fong's great origin of end art could not truly kill him. However, it was not so easy for the terror progenitor to recover his previous strength. It would take an unknown amount of time, resources, and energy. Master, Su Fong exclaimed. Su Fong did not have the attention to pursue the terror progenitor and teleported towards Shixian Daozu. At this time, Shixian Daozu's sixth reincarnation body had been completely burned. Only the empty soul was left. It was also burning and was about to burn out. Su Fong was about to activate the longevity lamp and use his pure soul power to help Shixian Daozu. Oh my! Shixian Daozu's shadow shook his head at Su Fong. If you help Master, it is the same as interfering with Master's fate. Even if Master can reincarnate 9 lives, it is meaningless. Leave everything to fate. Master. Su Fong knelt towards Shixian Daozu's soul. No matter how strong his Tao heart was, no matter how great his mental state was, he was grief-stricken at this time. Tears could not help but flow out of his eyes. His heart was filled with helplessness and despair. He could only watch as Shixian Daozu's soul was burned. In the end, he did not know how much of his true spirit would remain and whether he could reincarnate. You brat, since you have become Daozu, why can't you see through fate? All of this is Master's fate. Shixian Daozu's soul looked at Su Fong and nodded with a smile. Master will die for the human race. Su Fong. Master has no regrets. Master has no regrets to have a disciple like you. Shixian Daozu's voice grew weaker and weaker. His soul was about to turn to nothing. Humph! A cold snort suddenly came from the void as though it came from the heavens. Su Fong seemed to be punished by the heavens. He was hit by an invisible power, and his body was thrown into the shattered space and time. When he came out again, his physical body was in tatters, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Immortal expert. I killed that terror progenitor and attracted an immortal expert. This person must be the wheel rotation origin progenitor that precious tree Divine Mother spoke of. Su Fong was heavily injured and his mind was in turmoil. Using 9 lifetimes of cultivation to reach immortal? This path is possible, but the human race is a low life form, and in the end, it is still like drawing water with a bamboo basket. Humph, you killed one of this seat's slaves, then use this soul to compensate this seat. After a few reincarnations and some more training, maybe you really can raise an immortal slave. That ancient voice that seemed to have existed since time immemorial rang out once more. Then, a ray of profound light surged out from the void, transforming into a giant illusory hand that wrapped around Dao, ancestor, Shixian's soul. The fire burning in Shixian Daozu's soul was immediately extinguished. Then he was covered by the invisible hand and was about to be taken away. "Release my master!" Su Fong shouted. Fong was completely dominated by the evil corpse. His body burned with evil flames as he charged at the Xianguang without regard for anything. This seat originally didn't want to kill a junior like you, but since you dared to attack this seat, then this seat has a reason to kill you. As soon as wheel rotation origin progenitor's voice sounded, the invisible hand suddenly changed direction and grabbed at Su Fong. In an instant, Su Fong felt like he was an ant facing the sky. His entire body was shackled. No matter how strong his abilities were, he couldn't use them at all. Rumble. Suddenly, a burst of lightning surged, and the sound of thunder shook the sky. A heavenly gate condensed from lightning quickly appeared in the sky. Lightning plane field. He didn't expect the gate of heaven to suddenly appear at this moment. Then, the invisible hand that was suppressing Su Fong suddenly paused. Then, the voice of the Plain Fields realm spirit came. This person is the candidate of the Plain Fields inheritor. According to the eternal law, immortal experts can't attack him. Wheel rotation origin progenitor's voice came again. Humph, the Reizegu people have been dead for many years. You, a mere realm spirit, dare to stop this seat? Although the Reizegu people have been dead for a long time, according to the eternal law, the Reizegu people still have a chance to send their inheritor to the eternal shrine for assessment. If they pass the assessment, they can keep the Reizegu people's position in the eternal shrine. No immortal experts can attack the inheritor, or they will be punished by the heavens. Fine. This seat will wait in the eternal shrine and see how this human junior passes the test. Wheel rotation origin progenitor snorted indifferently. His voice quickly became ethereal. The Xianguang wrapped around Shixian Daozu's soul and disappeared into the void. Su Fong, the shackles on Fong's body disappeared. However, his heart fell into the valley of despair. Only now did he realize the real gap between him and an immortal expert. With his current strength, even if he couldn't defeat the 10 Directions God Masters, he couldn't be like before. Under the will of wheel rotation origin progenitor, he couldn't resist at all. Too big. Too big. The gap between immortal experts was too big. It was like a baby facing a strong man. He couldn't resist at all. Chapter 3230. Realm Spirit sent a telepathic message to Su Fong. Human, Su Fong, I was able to borrow the Eternal Shrine's rules to save you this time, but you won't be so lucky next time. You're too bold. Do you think you can afford to provoke an immortal expert at your current level? Su pulled himself together and cupped his fists at the gate of heaven in the sky. Thank you for saving me, Lord Realm Spirit. You don't need to belittle yourself. When you first entered the Luai's original realm, your chances of passing the 9 layers of heaven's test were only 10%. Now, you have at least a 60% chance. I have high hopes for you. When you become the ruler of the Luai's original realm and obtain its inheritance, you'll become an immortal expert sooner or later. There's not much time left before you enter the Luai's original realm again. Work hard, human cultivator. As Realm Spirit's voice faded into the distance, the gate of heaven in the sky turned into lightning and disappeared. When I become an immortal, I'll definitely pay you a visit to avenge today's grudge. Su Fong looked at the empty sky and spoke harshly to the ethereal heavenly Tao. The longevity lamp said, Master, if you become an immortal, you'll definitely surpass Prelude. That Prelude reached immortal through the great Tao of reincarnation, while Master cultivates the heavenly Tao that encompasses all great Taos. Once you become an immortal, you'll naturally be much stronger than him. However, it's far too difficult to become an immortal expert who coexists with the heavenly Tao. I have a Tao immortal and an opportunity like the Luai's original realm. I'll definitely surpass Daozu and become an immortal. This subordinate looks forward to the day you become an immortal master. Prelude saw that Master had the potential to become an immortal, so he captured Master's soul and wanted to raise him as a slave. Master will be fine for now. The most important thing right now is the seal on Western Mystery Mountain. When Su Fong looked at the Western Black Mountain, he could not help but be shocked. Terror Ancestor hadn't been able to break the seal, but it was starting to loosen. The Divine Lord of 10 Directions was furiously attacking the inside, causing the seal to shatter continuously. In less than 10,000 years, the God Lords of 10 Directions would break through the seal that Tao Ancestor Shi Xian had created with his own body and the primordial heavenly treasure. Whoosh, whoosh whoosh. Yi Xian Daozu, Tian Su from the Destiny platform, Mother of Darkness, and other human Daozu appeared in the sky above the Western Xian Mountain. Su on the way to the Western Mystery Mountain, Fong had sent a message to the Daozu of the human race. Only now did they reach the Western Mystery Mountain. Look, when they arrived at the Sichuan Mountain seal, the human Daozu was both surprised and shocked. Then came waves of despair. Su Fong told the human Daozu about what had happened. I didn't expect the Tensei people to be so despicable. Dongxian Daozu and the others gritted their teeth. They were full of admiration for Shi Xian Daozu's experience. This old thing has died so many times already, but he still doesn't know what's good for him. Daozu the Dark Mother was both worried and grieved for Shi Xian Daozu. Other than Su Fong, Shi Xian Daozu was the human Daozu with the highest chance of becoming immortal. Now, the Shi Xian Daozu's reincarnated soul was captured by an immortal of another race. No one could predict what would happen in the future. Because of this, the human race lost a glimmer of hope. Every one of them. A human Tao ancestor's heart was filled with pessimism and despair. East, Xian Daozu said in a low voice, "Everyone, let's talk about how to solve the Sichuan Mountain seal." The Daozu fell silent. After a long while, Daofather Dark Mother spoke up. "If I can't find a good solution within 10,000 years, then I'll have no choice but to follow in the footsteps of that old bastard, Shi Xian, and use my own body as a seal to shackle the Divine Lords of 10 Directions once more." Su shook his head and said, "It's useless." Shi Xian Daozu barely managed to seal the 10 Directions Divine Master with the Sichuan Mountain and the primordial heavenly treasure Heaven Prison Cage. Now that the seal has been shaken, it's useless even if we all transform into the seal. Divine Master Fong's smug voice came from inside the Sichuan Mountain. "Human Daozu, don't waste your energy. Apart from immortal experts, no one can stop me now. Once I break free from my shackles, I'll kill every single human, including all of you. I'll use this to prove my Tao to the immortal realm." Kikik. The Daozu all gritted their teeth, but there was nothing they could do. Su Fong suddenly said, "Let me try." Shwa shwa. Everyone looked at Su Fong, and a glimmer of hope reappeared in their eyes. Su Fong pondered for a while, then said slowly, "I obtained a supreme treasure in the Imperial Heavenly Divine Palace. It's the Imperial Heavenly Daozu's Imperial Heavenly Stone. Also, I just saw my master's soul being captured and broke through to the next realm, so I decided to give it a try. As for whether I can succeed, I can't guarantee." Heaven Su said in surprise, "The Imperial Heavenly Stone? I know about this treasure." The Imperial Heavenly Great Tao created by Daozu was comprehended from the Imperial Heavenly Stone. Are you planning to use the Imperial Heavenly Stone to reseal the Divine Lord of 10 Directions? Before Su Fong could speak, the Divine Lord of 10 Directions' resentful laughter came from within the Western Mystery Mountain. The Imperial Heavenly Stone? It's useless, unless an immortal realm expert acts. Even a primordial heavenly treasure won't be able to restrain me. Su Fong smiled embarrassedly, and a hint of determination appeared in his eyes. He said to the Daozu experts, "Everyone, please stand guard outside the Western Mystery Mountain and seal the surrounding space-time. No one is allowed to spy on me." Although they didn't know what was going on, Su Fong was their only hope at this moment. They all left the sky above the Western Mystery Mountain and followed Su Fong's instructions. They stood guard in the space-time around the Western Mystery Mountain and used their divine might to seal the space within 100 million li of the mountain. Su Fong's primordial soul avatar also used a formation. Together with the heavenly mandate avatar, they used the heaven and earth as a formation to sever the heavenly Tao of destiny. They covered the Western Mystery Mountain and the sky above it, completely isolating the outside world from sensing them. After doing all this, Su Fong sat down cross-legged on the Western Mystery Mountain. Tin God Master Fong's evil corpse's voice came from within the seal again. "You're Su Fong, the one who has repeatedly ruined my plans, right? You cultivate the Jiushuan Limitless Sutra, so you should be my successor. Instead, you've been opposing me all the time. Now, you're even trying to reseal me. You're really overestimating yourself." Fong Molin said, "You're not the 10 Directions Divine Master. You're just the 10 Directions Divine Master's evil corpse. You're trying to destroy the human race to prove your Tao and achieve immortality. I, on the other hand, intend to protect the human race, my family, and my friends to prove my Tao. You and I are fire and water. How can fire and water coexist?" Tin God Master Fong roared angrily. "If I hadn't been killed by the human race's Daozu, I would have already severed my 3 corpses and become an immortal realm expert. I would have led the human race to stand proudly among the 10,000 races in the chaos. What's so valuable about the human race that's worth protecting?" Su Fong asked. Fong Molin replied coldly, "This is what they mean by people with different Daos cannot work together." God Master Fong sneered. "Do you think it's that easy to sever my 3 corpses? I'd like to see how you're going to sever them and reseal me." Su Fong said no more. He closed his eyes and sat cross-legged in the air. After a long time, Su Fong Molin took out a jade slip. "Here, in the Reizegu people's ruins of God, the 10 Directions Divine Master's good corpse had given him this jade slip before his death. Inside it was the method to sever his 3 corpses. Right now, Su Fong was planning to sever his good corpse. If I want to sever my good corpse, I'll have to sever all my good thoughts and good karma and entrust them to a supreme treasure. From then on, I won't be shackled by all my good thoughts and obtain transcendence. Moreover, the Xian Bao that I've entrusted my good thoughts with will become a Dharma body of mine with boundless strength. I can use the Heaven Edict Stone as a treasure to entrust my good corpse to, but it's easier said than done to sever all my good thoughts." At this thought, Su Fong smiled bitterly. The faces of his family, friends, and subordinates kept appearing in his mind. His heart surged with dense good thoughts. Behead the 3 corpses were to sever the execution corpses, good corpses, and evil corpses, thereby transcending all the shackles of the mortal world and breaking free of all emotional shackles. They would be as emotionless as the heavenly Tao. Only then could they coexist with the heavenly Tao and become eternal existences. Behead to sever the good corpse was to sever all familial ties and good thoughts. Su Fong was the most affectionate of all, so how could he sever them? Time passed. Day after day passed. Su Fong's face was no longer calm. Gradually, he was filled with pain. Finally, beads of sweat appeared on his face, and the muscles on his face twitched as if he was enduring an immense pain he had never experienced before. "Su Fong, give it up. Since you want to protect your family and the human race, how can you sever your familial ties and good thoughts?" The 10 Directions Divine Master's voice was like a demonic voice that came from within the Western Mystery Mountain seal and assailed Su Fong's Tao heart. Upon hearing the 10 Directions Divine Master's voice, Su Fong's expression became even more pained. The so-called good of the human race is nothing more than hypocrisy. Among the human cultivators and the 10,000 races of the primal chaos, which faction doesn't eat each other up? This is the law of the heavenly Tao. So how can you change it? This one did the human race out of the goodness of my heart. But what happened in the end? Your so-called good never existed in the first place. So why sever it? The 10 Directions Divine Master's gloomy voice continued, attempting to throw Su Fang's Tao heart into chaos. Not only would he not be able to sever the good corpse, he would also be shackled and find it difficult to make any breakthroughs in his cultivation. Su Fang's mind was already in chaos, and the 10 Directions Divine Master's interference made it even more chaotic. Even if he severed the will of the good corpse, he would find it difficult to reform it. Swoosh! Suddenly, the image of Shi Xian Daozu, transforming into a seal and shackling the 10 Directions Divine Master, appeared in Su Fang's mind. Then, he saw Shi Xian Daozu's reincarnation, Luo Qing, being killed by the first Elder of Punishment. Thump! Then, he saw Shi Xian Daozu's 6th reincarnation charging at the Terror Ancestor without hesitation. Boom! Jew! Amidst the immense pain, Su Fang's mind suddenly became clear, as if a bolt of lightning had torn apart a thick cloud. Protecting my family and the human race and severing the good corpse seem contradictory, but in reality, they are a grave mistake. I'm severing the good corpse not because I want to be heartless to my family and the human race, nor because I want to become callous and heartless, but because I want to better protect them. Severing emotions is the true meaning of love. Su Fang suddenly opened his eyes, which flashed with a hearty light, and the pained expression on his face vanished. With a flip of his right hand, the heavenly edict stone appeared in his palm, and then he tossed it 1,000 feet away, where it floated in the air. Sever. Su Fang smiled, and an extremely resolute will and energy erupted from him before vanishing into nothingness. Boom! Rumble. There was a faint rumble of thunder. Chapter 32-31. Qi. The blade of lightning formed by the will of the heavenly Tao cut towards Su Fang's head with the coldness and mercilessness of the heavenly Tao. Wait, when it reached Su Fang's head, the blade of lightning shrunk to a foot long. It cut into Su Fang's head and into Su Fang's body. In an instant, in Su Fang's mind, his family, friends, subordinates, and countless familiar and unfamiliar faces appeared. Then they shattered one by one in his mind. At the same time, Su Fang sensed that there were strands of karma that were cut by this blade. Those strands of karma were the good karma that Su Fang had received from his good deeds. Su Fang's heart felt like it was being torn apart. Every one of them. Every time he destroyed a face, every strand of karma was cut. There was a heart-wrenching pain. It was as though he was saying goodbye to all the family, friends, subordinates, and humans he wanted to protect. This blade only lasted for an instant, but for Su Fang, it was like he had experienced reincarnation after reincarnation. Whoosh one. A lifelike figure of Su Fang was torn out of Su Fang's body. Su Fang's body and heart seemed to have lost something, and he felt empty all of a sudden. Samash had never felt so relaxed before, as though he had transcended. Father, Xuanxin, Goddess, Senior Sister, Bai Ling, Qin Yu, Shi Xian, Daozu. Su Fang closed his eyes. The faces of his family clearly appeared in his mind, but there was no emotion in his heart. It was as though he was facing strangers who had nothing to do with him. It was not that he was emotionless, or that he had lost his feelings for his family, but that he had broken free of the shackles of emotions. His Tao heart would not be affected by emotions, and he would not be troubled or shackled by emotions. No matter if it was a mortal or a cultivator, they were easily disturbed by emotions. They could not see their true self and would do things that went against their conscience. They could even do crazy things due to emotions. Su Fang did not cut off his good thoughts for his family and friends when he cut off the good corpse. He cut off all the emotions that came from his good thoughts and jumped out of all shackles. So this is the so-called great unruffled emotions. Fang felt that his Tao heart had lost layers of shackles. Unknowingly, he had entered a state that was even higher than the heart of the world and encompassing everything. This was the highest state of the Tao heart. Great unruffled emotions. Cut after cutting off the good corpse, Su Fang's Tao heart had entered the great unruffled Tao. But he had just entered this state. Following along with another breakthrough in the realm of the Tao heart, Su Fang felt that he was a step closer to the ethereal heaven Tao, and the shackles and bottlenecks in his cultivation had vanished without a trace at this instant. You actually cut off the good corpse. Divine Lord Fang's evil corpse's voice came from inside the Western Black Mountain seal. His voice was filled with shock, surprise, and a little jealousy. Back then, he was hunted down by human experts, so he had no choice but to forcibly split his zombie, good corpse, and evil corpse into three. As a result, the zombie was killed, and the good corpse and evil corpse lost control, each walking on a different great Tao. If otherwise, Divine Lord Ten Directions would have reached a height that no human had ever reached before and become an immortal expert. Now that he saw Su Fang cutting off the good corpse and taking a big step on the path to the peak of the immortal realm, how could he not be jealous? Su Fang smiled embarrassedly. I should thank you for being able to cut off the good corpse. Thank me. If you were not about to break the seal and the human race was facing destruction, how could I cut off the good corpse to protect my family and the human race? So what if you have cut off the good corpse? Once I break out of the seal, I will still be able to kill you. Divine Lord Ten Directions' murderous voice rushed out of the seal. Then, he began to attack the seal with all his might, causing the seal to break faster. Su Fang smiled casually. Then he fixed his eyes on the shadow that had been chopped off. This image was Su Fang's good corpse. Su Fang's thoughts moved. Good. The good corpse flew toward the Heaven Edict stone and disappeared without a trace. While the Heaven Edict stone suddenly gained some spirituality, it emitted a golden xianguang, and mysterious divine inscriptions appeared. The divine, immortal, and inviolable principles of the heavenly Tao soared into the sky. Su Fang had been cultivating for 300 million years, so he had long cultivated the Heaven Edict stone into an avatar. Now that the Heaven Edict stone had become the host of the good corpse, it seemed to gain an origin spirit. Its quality had also evolved. It was no longer a half-step primordial heavenly treasure, but a primordial heavenly treasure. My good corpse is in the Heaven Imperial avatar. It will protect my family, friends, and even the entire human race. Su Fang's true body smiled and pointed at the Western Mystery Mountain. Whoosh! The Heaven Edict stone spiraled out and hovered above the Western Mystery Mountain. Chi! 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 Golden Xian Guang shot out from the bottom of the Heaven Edict stone. They intertwined and formed a golden talisman that covered an area of 10,000 miles. It landed on the Western Mystery Mountain. Chi! From afar, it looked like a huge seal that was imprinting itself on the Western Mystery Mountain. The Heaven Edict stone contained the principles of the heavenly Tao. It could deprive or bestow everything to cultivators and living beings. Su Fang's good corpse, which was in the Heaven Edict stone, released a talisman that sealed the Heaven Edict stone. The powerful seal of the heavenly Tao order had taken away the freedom of the divine lords of 10 directions. I didn't expect you to spoil my plans again this time. Su Fang, your seal won't be able to shackle me for long. Once I break through the seal, I'll definitely burn your corpse and refine your soul. As the golden talisman released by the Heaven Edict stone seeped into the Western Mystery Mountain, the Divine Lord of 10 Directions' voice became softer and softer until it stopped abruptly. Su Fang put away the Heaven Edict stone and staggered. He almost lost his balance. First, he killed the Ancestor of Terror. Then, he was severely injured by the Ancestor of Rotation. Then, he cut off his good corpse and activated the Heaven Edict stone to seal the Divine Lord of 10 Directions. He had used up a lot of energy and was at the end of his rope. Master, it's done. Su Fang took out 10 pills and swallowed them. At the same time, he urged the heaven-piercing Blood King Vine to devour the life and energy of the Blood Pig. After recovering a little, he sent a message to Dongxian Daozu and the others. Whoosh! Whoosh! Dongxian Daozu and the other human Daozu experts impatiently flew over. Sensing another powerful seal in the Western Mystery Mountain, and the Divine Lord of Ten Directions' aura being shackled again. The human Daozu was pleasantly surprised. Receive. The human Daozu sensed Su Fang's aura again. Although it was dispirited, it gave them the illusion that they were directly facing the heavenly Tao. His realm was obviously different from before. Everyone, many human Daozu, were shocked again. They couldn't help but feel a sense of reverence. Even Dongxian Daozu felt the same. Tian Su sighed. My divination was right. Su Fang is the hope of our human race. Now that the Divine Lord of Ten Directions is sealed again, we don't have to worry about him bringing disaster to our human race. Xian Dao ancestor chuckled. He is my disciple. Su Fang shook his head. Lord Tian Su, Master, don't be happy too early. The seal I created with the Heaven Edict Stone is only to make up for Master's seal. It can only seal him temporarily. In 1,000,000 years, or at least 500,000 years, the Divine Lord of Ten Directions might break the seal again. The human Daozu, who were excited just a moment ago, turned pale. It was as if a bucket of ice water had been poured on their heads. They fell back into the bottomless abyss. Shoo! Unknown, Su Fang smiled casually and said, Last time, I passed the test of the Thunder Lake Original Realm's third heaven. When I came back, I successfully became a Daozu and could kill a peak Daozu. This time, I will enter the Thunder Lake Original Realm again. When I come back, I will kill the evil corpse of the Divine Lord of Ten Directions and eradicate the threat of the human race. His tone was calm, but it was filled with supreme dominance and unparalleled confidence. Dongxian Daozu and the others became excited again. If someone else said this, no one would believe it. Although the evil corpse of the Divine Lord of Ten Directions hadn't truly entered the immortal realm, no one under the immortal realm could compare to it. Even a primordial heavenly treasure couldn't shackle it. It was obvious how powerful it was. However, Su Fang had been a slave of the heaven-forsaken race from a low-level universe. He had defied the heavens and stood above the peak experts of the human race. He had created countless miracles. How could the Daozu not believe him? I'll have to trouble you, Lord Daozu, to completely seal off the periphery of the Western Mystery Mountain and take turns guarding it to prevent any more foreign experts from trying to open the seal and release the evil corpse of the Divine Lord of Ten Directions. Su Fang cupped his fists at the Daozu experts and left in embarrassment. Return after arriving at the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace. Su Fang went straight into his cave residence. He first put the Imperial Heaven celestial body back into the distance. The Imperial Heaven Stone was the formation core of the entire Imperial Heaven Divine Palace. Leaving it for a long time would cause the space inside the palace to become unstable. With a thought, Su Fang could clearly sense every movement of everyone in the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace. Feeling his gaze swept past his father, Shu Wanjin, and his many relatives, friends, and subordinates. Su Fang felt a surge of warmth in his heart, but he didn't feel any emotion. Then, Su Fang began to wantonly devour pills and spiritual items without caring about the cost. The 12 races and the Daozu of the other races that he had shackled also became his cultivation materials. Such as, under this frenzied devouring, Su Fang's injuries, exhaustion, and recovery speed were naturally astonishing. Next, Su Fang settled down in the flowing time formation and cultivated the Jiuxuan everlasting scripture to raise his cultivation base. At the same time, he continued to comprehend various divine abilities. There were still 5 more trials in the Thunder Lake Original Realm. Su Fang was confident that with his current strength, he had at least a 70% chance of success. However, time was of the essence, and Su Fang could only do his best to raise his cultivation base. In this trip to the Thunder Lake Original Realm, his goal was not only to pass the 4th trial, but also the 5th, 6th, and even more. Charge the more trials one passed, the more amazing the rewards one would receive, and the faster one's strength would increase. Such as, only then would he have a chance of killing the evil corpse of the Divine Lord of Ten Directions and completely resolving the crisis of the human race. Such as, Chapter 32:32. Time flew by quickly. Su Fong was completely immersed in cultivation inside the time formation. He had already forgotten about the passage of time. To be more precise, time had lost its meaning to cultivators at his level. Compared to the lifespan of a Dao ancestor expert, which was measured in epochs, Su Fong's age and cultivation time were extremely short. Straight. Until this day, Su Fong suddenly sensed something and opened his eyes. It's time to enter the Luai's original realm again. The life force in Su Fong's body surged, and the vicissitudes of time that enveloped him receded. He returned to his peak state when he was 18 years old. He flew out of the formation. The Chi-Tian avatar condensed his thoughts and created another avatar to take charge of the Chi-Tian Divine Palace's formation. However, he then sucked the Chi-Tian avatar into the palace. This time, Su Fong had to go all out to enter the Luai's original realm. Therefore, he had to bring the Chi-Tian avatar with him. Yes, a single avatar could maintain the Chi-Tian Divine Palace for tens of thousands of years. He could also control the entire Chi-Tian Divine Palace at any time. He left the cave abode. After scanning everyone in the Chi-Tian Divine Palace, Su Fong transmitted his divine will to Holy Sovereign Sieju. Holy Sovereign Sieju, I'm going to enter the Luai's original realm. The Chi-Tian Divine Palace will be temporarily closed. I'll leave everything to you. Holy Sovereign Zhu quickly replied, Don't worry. Leave everything to me. There won't be any mishaps. Su Fong snorted coldly. If there's any mishap, I won't let you off easily. Holy Sovereign Sieju replied embarrassedly. I promise you that if there's any mishap, I'll leave my life in your hands. Strange. Why does your divine will make me tremble in fear? I have no choice but to submit to your will. It seems that your strength has increased greatly after so many years of seclusion. Su Fong was not the only one whose strength had increased greatly after so many years of seclusion. Furthermore, Su Fong had severed the good corpse. His Dao heart was on the verge of the immortal realm. His was naturally not something a Daozu of Holy Sovereign Sieju's level could withstand. Su Fong had ways to control Holy Sovereign Sieju. He was not afraid that Holy Sovereign Sieju would lose control after he left. Then, Su Fong waved his hand and grabbed at the air. An independent space-time within the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace, together with the entire barrier, was pulled into the Dao Palace and moved into the Heaven's Path avatar. By in the independent space-time that Su Fong took away, there lived low-level life forms that came from the Pansong universe and his heavenly way Dharma body. Su Fong was planning to send them directly to the Luai's original realm. If something really happened to Su Fong, the human race would not be completely wiped out. They could continue to reproduce in the Luai's original realm. Also, perhaps one day, a powerful expert would be born, leaving the Luai's original realm and returning to the primal chaos. After doing all this, Su Fong's figure flashed and entered the void, disappearing without a trace from the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace. Whoosh, Su then, he appeared outside the Imperial Heaven Divine Palace. Yixian Daozu and the other human Daozu had been waiting outside the Royal Divine Palace for a long time. Yixian Daozu nodded and said, Su Fong, are you going to the Luai's original realm now? Yes, master. Su Fong cupped his fist politely at Dongxian Daozu. You have a heavy responsibility on your journey to the Luai's original realm. You must be careful, Dongxian Daozu reminded. Many human Daozu looked at Su Fong with solemn eyes. Su Fong understands. I will not let you down this trip to the Luai's original realm. Su Fong cupped his fists at the many Daozu. Just as he was about to leave, Su Fong suddenly raised his eyebrows. Whoosh, whoosh. An old man in luxurious clothes and exuding an aura of wealth broke through the air. This person was also a Daozu and secretly controlled the Chamber of Commerce. He was also a powerful figure in the human world. Daozu from the Chamber of Commerce cupped his fists at Su Fong and said, Su Fong Da has a gift for your trip to the Luai's original realm. Then, a Xian Guang appeared. The Xian Guang landed 1,000 miles away and transformed into a small star. It was the Chamber of Commerce's unique treasure, the Big Dipper Heaven's Eye. Only dazzling starlight bloomed from a star and condensed into a light screen that was 1,000 feet wide. In the light screen, countless cultivators floated in the air. They were so densely packed that it was difficult to count their numbers. They ranged from the lowest Dao True Realm cultivators to the Dao Saint experts. Look, based on their attire, these cultivators should be from the Hong Tian Divine Realm. Farewell, Su Fonda. With the Dao Saint expert leading the way, countless cultivators in the light screen knelt and kowtowed to Su Fong. Then, the light screen changed again. Same as countless cultivators, but they were no longer from the Hong Tian Divine Realm. They were from the Chi Tian Divine Realm. Their faces were filled with gratitude and respect as they kowtowed to Su Fong. However, the light screen continued to change. Apart from Nanxian, cultivators from the other 8 divine realms, from the Dao Saints to the Dao True Realm, bowed to Su Fong. Su's heart began to beat faster. He looked at the Daozu and asked, "What is the meaning of this?" The Daozu replied, "When you killed the Hong Tian Daozu and the Chi Tian Daozu, many people criticized you. Over the years, Lord Daozu has spread the news, and I have also contributed a little. The cultivators of the human world now know the truth and feel guilty towards you. This time, you have entered the Thunderlock origin realm for the future of the human race. The human race has no way of repaying you, so we can only wish you success in advance. Regardless of whether the Su Fongda succeeds or fails, the human race will forever remember it." Fong fell silent for a moment. Then he cupped his fist at the light screen and stepped into the void, vanishing from everyone's sight without a trace. While Su Fong was preparing to head to the Thunderlock origin realm and wait for the heavenly gate to appear, Zhou Nuo was also preparing to enter the Thunderlock origin realm. Zhou Nuo sat cross-legged on the same altar as before. Hundreds of thousands of Tensei people stood respectfully in the air around him. Here, Zhou Nuo's cultivation had risen to the peak of the upper Dao Saint realm. He was only one step away from the Daozu. Zhou Nuo's indifferent gaze shot out from the altar. Sharp and cold, killing intent flashed in his eyes. Fong. Compared to the last time, there were fewer Daozu and Zhou Nuo's father among the cultivators who came to see Zhou Nuo off. Those people were all shackled by the Su Fong and naturally couldn't come to see Zhou Nuo off. Zhou Nuo, a divine light, flashed out and transformed into the figure of the 7th forefather of the Tensei people. Zhou Nuo hurriedly knelt. "Greetings, 7th forefather." The 7th forefather's divine light swept over Zhou Nuo. He nodded and said, "It seems that you are ready. Your years of bitter cultivation haven't been in vain. It shouldn't be difficult for you to successfully pass the Thunderlock origin realm's 3rd heaven test." Zhou Nuo said confidently, "This disciple is completely confident. However, merely passing the 3rd heaven test is far from enough." The 7th forefather's voice suddenly turned cold. Zhou Nuo was startled. "7th forefather, are you referring to the Su Fong?" "That's right. If this person hadn't competed with you, with the Tensei people's resources and your talent, passing the Thunderlock origin realm's ultimate test wouldn't have been difficult. However, with the addition of this human cultivator, your chances of obtaining the Thunderlock origin realm have become extremely slim." Zhou Nuo was rather dissatisfied with the 7th forefather's words. The 7th forefather of the Tensei people saw through Zhou Nuo's thoughts. "I didn't tell you before because I was worried that it would interfere with your cultivation. I personally asked the origin progenitor of reincarnation to send his subordinate, the Terra progenitor, to the human world. Who would have thought that he would fail on the verge of success? Even the Terra progenitor was killed by Su Fong. Su Fong killed the Terra progenitor." Zhou Nuo's divine light changed instantly. His eyes were filled with disbelief. The 7th forefather said indifferently, "Furthermore, when the origin progenitor of reincarnation was about to kill Su Fong, the Thunderlock origin realm appeared. The realm spirit appeared and used the eternal laws to stop the origin progenitor of reincarnation. From this, it can be seen that Su Fong's previous performance has already gained the realm spirit's approval. If you can't surpass Su Fong in the Thunder Lock origin realm, you'll be killed by the realm spirits sooner or later. Zhou Nuo suddenly felt a heavy pressure. He gritted his teeth and said, "This disciple understands. It's good that you understand." The seventh forefather nodded. His figure once again turned into a divine light and escaped into the void. "Su Fong, you lowly human ant. You shackled my father and the experts under him. You even want to take away the Thunder Lock origin realm that belongs to me. Don't even think about it." Zhou Nuo's eyes flashed with terrifying hatred and anger. His handsome face looked ferocious and terrifying. He waited for more than 10 years. The heavenly gate of the Thunder Lock origin realm appeared. Zhou Nuo stepped through the gate with a heart full of killing intent and entered the Thunder Lock origin realm. Su Fong was 1,000 years later than Zhou Nuo. After entering the Thunder Lock origin realm, he directly appeared on the 4th Lotus platform of the 9 Lotus Ascension. The realm spirit's voice sounded, "Human Su Fong, it seems that you have gained a lot over the years. Your strength has improved a lot compared to before." Su Fong said, "This is also thanks to Lord Realm Spirit's guidance." The realm spirit said, "I only gave you some guidance within the bounds of the rules. Your improvement is due to your own efforts. However, although your strength has improved a lot, it will still be difficult for you to pass the 4th Heavens test." "The 4th Heavens test is so difficult?" Su Fong's heart sank. He originally planned to enter the Thunder Lock origin realm, this time not only to pass the 4th heaven, but also to pass more tests. He didn't expect the realm spirit to estimate that it would be difficult for him to pass the 4th heaven. This surprised Su Fong. The realm spirit continued, "The 4th heaven's test is the most difficult. The following 5 heavens are dangerous, but not as difficult as the 4th heaven. As long as you pass the 4th heaven's test, the subsequent tests will not only rely on strength, but also luck. So that's how it is. My luck has always been good." Su Fong relaxed a lot. "Human cultivator, let's begin. I hope your efforts in the past 1,000,000 years have not been in vain." The realm spirit's voice fell. The space of the Lotus platform immediately extended to the surroundings, turning into an independent space-time. It was boundless and empty inside. Whoosh, a cultivator of the Reizigu people, who was 100 feet tall, flashed out of the void. Unlike the opponent Su Fong encountered on the 4th Lotus platform last time, this opponent was a Daozu. Its aura was 10 times stronger than before. Chapter 32-33. This time, it was not Su Fong, but a powerful cultivator from the Reizigu people. Judging from his aura, this cultivator from the Reizigu people was an ordinary Daozu who had yet to reach the peak. Of course, if one really treated him as an ordinary Daozu, one would definitely die a horrible death. Thunder the Daozu race was a powerful race that once dominated the chaos. How could a powerful cultivator from the Reizigu people be ordinary? Positive under normal circumstances, an ordinary Daozu from the Reizigu people could easily kill a powerful cultivator from the Daozu race. This was the difference between races. Due to the difference in life levels, even cultivators of the same level could have a huge difference in strength. Boom! Boom! This cultivator from the Reizigu people grabbed at Su Fong, and a bolt of thunder surged from his palm. Of course, this was not an ordinary thunder technique. It was violent, and had a destructive Tao of thunder. Boom! As soon as he heard the sound of thunder, the thunder arrived in front of Su Fong. Su Fong estimated that this powerful cultivator from the Reizigu people could easily kill a Daozu who was at the same height as Su Fong. But Su Fong was not an ordinary Daozu. Boom! With a wave of his hand, Su Fong's thoughts transformed into 2 streaks of profound light, one black and one red. The 2 streaks of profound light intertwined with each other, forming a huge yin-yang tai chi diagram that covered an area of 10,000 feet. It formed a powerful defense in front of Su Fong. Boom! 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 The fierce thunderbolt struck the yin-yang tai chi diagram. The black and red Xian Guang intertwined and spun, exploding with the heavenly Tao of yin-yang. The powerful cultivator from the Reizeigu people's attack immediately sank into the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram and was broken down layer by layer. Positive it was a great abhijna, created by Su Fang's Heavenly Way spell body from the principles of the Heavenly Way. It was called the yin-yang chaos diagram and was extremely similar to the yin-yang Tai technique of the Eastern mysterious Heavenly Pavilion. Go to hell. With a thought, Su Fang sent out his yin-yang Tai Chi diagram straight towards the expert from the Reizeigu people. After another series of collisions, the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram destroyed the attacks of the Reizeigu people and finally swallowed them whole. Su Fang, on the other hand, had only consumed a few thoughts. By slain experts of the Reizeigu people turned into a vast and pure stream of primordial qi that surged into Su Fang's Holy Ji Palace. The entire Holy Ji Palace began to boil, filled with the aura of the Heavenly Way's Holy Ji Palace, making it even closer to the Heavenly Way's Holy Ji Palace. This was the benefit of the fourth trial. Whoosh, Su Fang was directly teleported to the fifth lotus platform. This time, the opponent he encountered was 10 times stronger than before, and the lightning-type divine ability he used was even more shocking. Su the square coffin Dharma body, Xinyang Dharma body, and Xinyang Dharma body worked together to unleash divine abilities that contained different truths of the Heavenly Way. Only then did they manage to kill the transformed expert from the Reizeigu people. Although the opponents on the fifth lotus platform were powerful, they did not pose much of a threat to Su Fang. However, after entering the sixth lotus platform, Su Fang finally felt immense pressure. Illusion the transformed opponent's cultivation was still at the same level as his, but the truths of the Heavenly Way were even more powerful. They contained terrifying truths that could destroy heaven and earth. Not only were their divine abilities powerful, but they were also ever-changing. The battle went on for 6 hours. Su Fang finally killed the expert from the Reizeigu people and was teleported to the seventh lotus platform. His aura was weak, and his physical body was in tatters. He was covered in wounds caused by the lightning-type power. Su Fang activated his vitality and blood energy. At the same time, he also devoured the lives of the blood pigs in the Holy Ji Palace to replenish his energy. The seventh lotus platform had depleted more than half of his energy. Fortunately, after killing the expert from the Reizeigu people, he obtained a large amount of primordial aura. This allowed the primordial aura in Su Fang's Holy Ji Palace to always be full. After merging with the pure primordial aura, Su Fang's primordial aura became even purer and more advanced. I'm afraid that the 8th stage will be even more difficult. I have to be careful. Fang Su used his primordial aura to form a robe and draped it over his body. Then, he was teleported to the 8th lotus platform. Whoosh! A giant from the Reizeigu people that was 500 feet tall appeared from the void. He was surrounded by lightning and destructive aura. This expert from the Reizeigu people was still at the same level as Su Fang, but his aura was extremely powerful. Even Su Fang felt a chill run down his spine. An expert of this height is even stronger than the expert from the Tensei people, Zhou. This is only the 8th stage of the 4th heaven. How difficult will the 9th stage be? Considering the strength of this expert from the Reizeigu people, Su Fang knew that he had no choice but to go all out this time. Royal Heaven Avatar, deprive him of his innate abilities. Su Fang used the Royal Heaven Avatar's ability. From the golden Xianguang erupted from the Royal Heaven Stone and intertwined into a rune. It descended from the head of the expert from the Reizeigu people and released a powerful will and might that could deprive a cultivator of their innate abilities. Then, the lightning around the expert from the Reizeigu people dimmed significantly. His aura was also suppressed by a third. Great return to ruins technique. Facing such a powerful expert, Su Fang did not dare to be careless. He immediately used the great return to ruins technique. His thoughts and primordial energy quickly condensed into a chaotic mirror. It shot out a beam of light that slammed into the expert from the Reizeigu people. Heavenly Lightning Lake. The strength of this expert from the Reizeigu people was truly astonishing. Under the combined might of the Royal Heaven Avatar and the Great Return to Ruins technique, he let out an indistinct roar and unleashed a powerful attack. A bolt of lightning surged out from between his eyebrows. However, there was no violent thunderbolt. Instead, it transformed into wave after wave of water-like lightning that instantly filled the entire space around the Lotus platform. This lightning was no longer violent. It was as gentle as water ripples. However, the lightning-type divine might contained within it was even more terrifying. The Great Return to Ruins technique tore apart the world of lightning and water. It shattered layer by layer and finally slammed into the expert from the Reizeigu people and killed him. However, Su Fong was also drowned by the surging lightning. The all-pervasive lightning-type divine might and destructive intent seeped into his body, invaded his Tao palace, and wantonly destroyed everything. The destructive intent of the heavenly Tao even attacked his Tao heart, attempting to obliterate his Tao heart and even his soul. Splat! Splat! What a powerful lightning art! Su Fong was shocked. He circulated his primordial energy and lifeblood energy, suppressing and dissipating the lightning-type divine might that had seeped into his body. However, he then took out a green pill. It was none other than the 9-flower jade pill that the precious tree mother had given him. Swallow. After taking the pill, Su Fong felt the injuries on his body recovering at an astonishing speed. No, as expected of a supreme pill of the heavenly tree race, it possessed astonishing regenerative abilities. In just 10-odd breaths, Su Fong's injuries had already healed by half, and they were still recovering. Whoosh! Splat! This expert of the Reizeigu people transformed into primordial energy that enveloped Su Fong and seeped into Su Fong's Tao Palace. The primordial energy in the Tao Palace rapidly increased, covering more than half of the Tao Palace. Splat! More shockingly, Su Fong's Jiushuan Tao Palace exuded the aura of the supreme heavenly Tao. It was deep and vast, like a heavenly Tao of its own. Su Fong did not feel much joy in his heart after obtaining such a great benefit. He had entered the Thunder Lake original realm to raise his cultivation, but more importantly, to pass the tests and obtain the inheritance of the Reizeigu people as soon as possible. If he could not even pass the test of the fourth heaven, everything would be meaningless. It's all thanks to the precious tree mother's pill. Otherwise, it would have been even more difficult. No wonder that realm spirit said that the fourth heaven was extremely difficult. As expected, the ninth heaven is somewhat dangerous. Su Fong was extremely shocked in his heart, yet his Tao heart maintained a state of being completely calm and without the slightest fear. With his current state of mind, even at the moment of his death, his Tao heart would not waver. Whoosh! Without giving Su Fong much time to recover, he was swept up by a spatial distortion and appeared on the 9th Lotus platform, which was also the last test of the fourth heaven. An old man of the Reizeigu people appeared. Splendor. Unlike the previous experts of the Reizeigu people, this expert's figure was similar to a normal human cultivator. He wore a black robe and had a vague aura. He was also a Daozu of the same height as Su Fong. However, the feeling this old man gave Su Fong was 10 times more terrifying than all the opponents he had encountered in the previous 8 stages combined. Su Fong's Destiny Dharma body also sensed an extremely dangerous aura from this person. It was an aura similar to the heavenly punishment. The Reizeigu people's innate ability was the Great Tao of Thunder. However, the Great Tao of Thunder had many branches. The Great Tao of Thunder that this old man of the Reizeigu people cultivated was a kind of heavenly punishment. The heavenly punishment was different from the heavenly tribulation. Although the heavenly tribulation of cultivators was also destructive, it was also a kind of opportunity for them. However, the heavenly punishment was different. It was the punishment of the heavenly Tao. It did not give life any chance to live, let alone opportunities. The old man of the Reizeigu people let out a thunderous cry. Then he waved his hand, and a million thoughts surged out of his palm. They immediately transformed into shocking heavenly thunder. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. The aura of the heavenly punishment instantly filled the entire space of the lotus platform. Crack, crack, crack. Thunder shot out from the hands of the old man of the Reizega people, forming a huge thunder array. Su Fong seemed to have fallen into the apocalypse. In chaos yang diagram. Nine yang burning heaven. Blood coffin burying heaven. Su Fong did not dare to be careless. He used all his skills. All his Dharma bodies used their magical powers to form layers of defense around him. Qi, the heavenly Dharma body, also condensed a huge golden rune, forming a powerful barrier around him. At the same time, Su Fong also used the Great Returning to Ruins technique, forming a huge mirror. The Xian Guang surged, brewing a shocking destructive attack. Boom! Boom!